Oh, hello, and welcome. Due to technical difficulties, we do apologize for this late broadcast.
Welcome,
Uh, it's
welcome to
not
my
our fault.
fucking
It's
nightmare.
technology is not something we like to be happy about sometimes.
That's right.
So there you go. Terence and me are back doing a therapy session. Well, in my channel, you know. Uh,
Yeah.
very fair. It's very important to my in my books. So welcome, Terence. As you can see, enjoying a ray of sunshine. The last Sunday
Trying
of
to.
the last Sunday of August, it has to be treasured. With a drink, a cigar, a drink
Yeah.
outside. I'm too cold. England, you can't celebrate that kind of stuff. It's freezing cold.
Yeah.
So I'm inside here, cooped
Really?
up. Yeah, 17 degrees today, maximum was.
Yeah.
So that's cold. I'm not. It's not summering. Anyway, for the last day of last Sunday of August. Not
hmm
great. Hello, Andrew Lopez. Nice to see you here. So, have you seen a new Disney show called Ahsoka from Star Wars?
I haven't seen it yet. No, I've seen the promo, but haven't watched the show yet.
So I am excited about that. I am becoming a little
Yeah.
bit more. One thing to tell you, I've always been a Ahsoka's fan in Star Wars universe. I like
Yeah.
female protagonists a lot, and she is such a badass. Even though I wasn't really yet much familiar to her that much, but I've seen a couple of things when it comes. Like I'm not the biggest Star Wars fan. I'm becoming a little bit more than I was maybe like a couple of years ago due to Clone Wars. I
Right.
highly recommend to watch that.
Because she's
Such,
in that.
oh yeah, yeah, and she is like a figure of a note. Yeah, I know. That's the one. One thing you watch the show and you see this guy doing this, and you know that he's not present anymore with us. It's just kind of
Right.
a little bit crazy. He died right after
Yeah.
the show was. I don't know if they finished filming, and then or they had a break between filmings, and um, he got ill, and apparently that wasn't something he could survive from. So that was a sad thing to happen for the show as well. But there's two first episodes of the show. Can you hear me? You look
I
puzzled.
can. Yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry. Yeah, I can now. I was trying to turn up the volume. There we go.
yeah. Yeah. He was like what I don't know how old was he? Why you disappeared, Terence? Hello, technical difficulty.
Yeah.
Where did
No,
you?
sorry. A call comes through and it takes over everything.
Oh yes, true. Yeah.
I'm not gonna
Oh
last out here. Anyway, sorry. Carry on.
yeah. So two episodes. You can watch two episodes of that show, and Rosario Dawson kicks ass. But honestly, that Sano girl, she's really kick ass. I really like her. There's one of the, and I'm not familiar with lots of the cast because I haven't yet managed to. I don't think he did the something. I don't know what. Okay, interesting. Anyway, so there's another show after Clone Wars you could watch, which is called Rebels, and it's another animated TV series, and it's written by the same guy who's writing sort of like headlining the Ahsoka series. And there's lots of characters from there, and they actually the Rebels has finished and apparently continues with this with Ahsoka as a continuation. So I
Right.
was puzzled at first. I don't think it's very friendly towards people who hasn't familiar with them, but they think they want to say that this show will be a new spin, or they will take some Star Wars in a new dimension, kind of thing. But there's a lots of things which come from Clone Wars also there in information, which I really enjoyed seeing that. I really kind of fascinated with, I don't know, witch and witchcrafts, even in the realm of Star Wars, sounds fascinating. And
Yeah.
in Clone Wars, we had one of those evil baddies, and she was a sword, like lightsaber wielding female, which I forgot the name of course. Live show. And
Yeah. Yeah.
she was part of this. group of people where they are based on like wizardry, like magic kind of thing. They wield magic part of it, and it's kind of fascinating. And one of the characters in the news in the series of Ahsoka is there. So I wonder if they're gonna go in that world, open up that world a bit more, kind of
Mhm.
witchcrafty type of a thing. Anyway, really cool. I
Very
liked it.
cool. Yeah.
Like typically slow motion kind of feels like action happens, great, fantastic. But the scenes and everything looks fantastic, honestly. I
Hmm.
like the color schemes of the costumes. And one thing I was surprised, Mandalorian is lightsaber wielding person will be part of it as well. So, and
Oh, cool. That's awesome.
she's supposed to be a Padawan of Ahsoka, which is
Right. Right.
the term of Star Wars, which I've
Like a
learned
trainee or
recently.
whatever, right? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and they didn't. They had this history where in Rebels, apparently, it's very prominent the history between them. So they clash, but they need each other to find solutions to their problems.
Right. Right.
Yeah,
Just a couple episodes, right? It just came out, right?
yeah, 2 episodes.
Yeah. Mhm.
So yeah, really nice actually that those two episodes are out. Is actually gives you a bit better feeling than one. There's quite a few questions, but a vision of TV show with Rosario Dawson being as Ahsoka is fantastic because you've seen
Yeah.
her in Mandalorian, and she's great. And
She's
she looks
damn
like,
good too.
yeah, she looks very kind of like she's becoming almost like like Elder. She's very serious.
Right.
She knows exactly what she wants to do. She knows how to wield her lightsabers. Almost the Yoda-like kind of feel to her.
Right. Right.
Yeah, because she's been
So she's
through a
that
lot.
skilled in the show then.
Yeah, because she's through a lot. She's seen
Hmm.
Vader become what her master. Oh, I am Skywalker, not Luke one, but other
Okay.
one.
Yeah.
What's his name?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
He became and you know what? In what Clone Wars is giving to you, she plays such a vital role that the evil part of him is kind of being thrown at him more vividly because she basically left them. Like she left being oh my god, why am blanking of all sorts of names? Yeah,
And
Anakin.
Anakin Skywalker, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you very much. I don't know why I'm doing this. Yeah. So yeah, she was trained by Anakin. Yeah, it's true. I'm sorry, I'm blanking my names when I do live shows. Yeah, so Anakin,
Yeah.
he was a master of hers, and they were having great
Okay.
relationship. And he was, like he had that problem, Anakin, with everything in the movies. You saw that he like takes everything very personally. Everything he done badly, my God, worlds will shatter around him because he hadn't achieved something or he made a mistake and all that stuff. So, and when she left them, he felt completely like out of, like he didn't know who to trust anymore. Oh, attack of a wasp.
Jesus. Nature hates me.
Yeah. So anyway,
Nature
so
and technology, they hate me.
rambling around, it's great show. You should watch it, but
Yeah.
I recommend go Clone Wars because you will start watching it and you won't want to stop because it's
Right.
entertaining. It opens the world of movies really well as well.
Yeah. Right. Sweet.
Cheers to ginger beer.
Cheers to beer. Beer.
So yeah,
That's
that's
what
what
the
I
wasp is
watched.
coming from. A delicious beer.
Yeah. Did you watch anything, or didn't you probably didn't have
The
time?
first three episodes of Shield. I watched the Nick Fury thing, the Secret Invasion or whatever the hell it's called.
Oh shoot, yeah, and go on.
I'm digging it. I mean, I don't know if I'm loving it, but 3 episodes was enough to watch in a row. I just kind of got into it because I had some of the evening to myself
Uh
yesterday,
huh. Uh
as the
huh.
family went out. So I just sat and watched three in a row. There's some really good stuff in it. There's some stuff I don't quite understand.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's just a me thing or if that's a storytelling thing because it's not. Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't know. It just feels kind of disjointed at parts. It feels like there's stuff that I've missed for
Mm-hmm.
some reason, and then it's
Yeah.
this mix of the history of them and some of the characterization. The guy that plays Telios or whatever his name is, the
Yeah.
Skrull. I
Yeah.
wonder if that actor has some drinking problems because there's some scenes where he seems shit faced, like not drunk as in his character is drunk, but he, the actor, feels like he's a bit drunk or something. You know what I mean? So I'm very curious because there were some scenes where he's slurring his words and others where he's not. So I'm
Yeah,
really kind of confused as to what the heck is going on there.
he's
Whether
like
that's
that.
part of the show or whether that's him in real life.
No, that's how he acts. Always, that's how
Mhm.
he is in acting world. He's been in the
Right.
show about the brothers. I forgot the name. I think it's Netflix show, and he was one of the brothers, and he was exactly in the same realm. It's a really good actor. He's everywhere. The Star Wars universe, he's there. The Marvel, basically,
That's right.
you're
He is in
gonna
Star
see.
Wars. That's right.
Yeah, so yeah, you will see. I like his acting, but yeah, I do understand. It looks like he's been drinking a day before, or eating, or those, like when people who drinks quite a lot, alcoholics. Okay, then they don't drink. That's when the shake starts.
Mhm.
That's what it feels like him. Like he just didn't have enough. Yeah,
Right.
yeah. He's so
Australian.
funny.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. He was great in Killing Them Softly. He was fantastic in that movie. He had a bit part in there, or a part in there, and he was fantastic. That's the Brad Pitt,
Hmm.
uh,
Hmm.
George Higgins movie or whatever, the written movie. It's fucking amazing. He's spectacular. Massive dehydration, right?
No, he's really extremely good actor. I think it does. It's kind of weird to see him in this role, like you say. First of all, if you feel confused, you're probably not alone. I got confused completely out of it because of the blip and all that stuff in
Yeah,
introduction. And also it seems to be that this act in particular is kind of weird to see being him good, because most of the movies I've seen in him acting is a bad guy.
right, right.
So that's why he feels like shifty, and maybe he's not, but he's really like tormented between, because his wife died, his daughter is part of somebody, if you realized, part of the bad guys. But I hope I didn't spoil that to you. I don't think I did. You
No, I
probably.
mean, yeah, I mean, he's associated all that stuff, his daughter, yada yada
Yeah.
yada. I mean, it also feels like with the show that, I mean, I know that this is probably a point of the show, but it seems like no character in that show can be trusted. Like every single character has some
Hmm.
sort of secret going on, which I imagine is going to play into the plot, right? Like that's part of it, right? But
Yeah.
even the two main characters, Fury and him, their
Hmm.
relationship for so long, it feels like they just don't know things about each other, you know? So
Yeah. Well, the
yeah,
thing
it's
is,
interesting. I'm
no,
gonna try to stick with it because there's three more episodes. I'm gonna try to finish it, but I don't know. We'll
I
see.
after I only watched 3 episodes, and I couldn't be even bothered to go back and watch it, because it's just, you know it's kind of myth all the time, most of the time. The thing is with him, if you watched the dynamic between two of them, is like that because a Marvel movie, Nick Fury has saved them, the whole Skrull Nation, and they
Yeah,
told them
that's right.
to fuck off from the
Yeah,
Earth,
yeah.
find a planet, and there you go. We saved you, but you need to leave, kind of thing.
Mhm.
And they were supposedly looking for planets, but some of them stayed behind, and Nick Fury in a way kind of pissed off at him because,
Yeah.
as I say, he's trying to help them, but slash they didn't do what they were saying, and then the
Mhm.
scroll guy, he's blaming Nick Fury for not helping him fully, like you promised us things, like, but you didn't,
Yeah.
tell us everything, kind of thing. And he's like, I blame you, that kind of the same conversation. I don't know. It's a very confusing series.
Yeah.
Not many people understand it fully what they wanted to portray in that series. Anyway, that's what at least I've seen or read some of it on the media. So I don't know. Just
I like the spy and espionage aspect of it though. Like I'm digging that
yes,
side of it. I just don't know if it's a great show. Like it's good. It kept my interest for three
yeah.
episodes, so we'll see.
Yo yo yo.
Hello, Chaos and Comics.
So yeah, it's kind of, I don't know. It's up in the air for me. I don't really give
Right.
a. So it's the first show. I really like Nick Fury as a character in generally. I think it's really mysterious. I really like the scene in Russia, in the square. That was fun. Like
Yeah.
you say, espionage part of it. That was great. But I don't know. I just like killing needlessly the characters who's kind of vital part of the shield was kind of weird for
Yeah.
me.
Nobody's ever dead. I'm sure they'll come back at some point. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, of course, but
yeah.
it's just kind of like it feels like kind of disjointed the way they were trying to portray that shit.
Right. Yeah.
Anyway,
Hey,
but
did you
apart,
watch Did
Uh-huh.
you see the kayfabe with Darrow today,
No,
talking about Shaolin Cowboy?
I was planning, but then I have other things. Sunday is not easy. Family
Right.
time, like lots of family things to do, and plus there's plenty of sport to watch for me because I was born in a nation of basketball who completely mad about it. I'm from that town in
Yeah.
Lithuania where the blood is not red but it's green because of the
Yeah. Right.
town.
Yeah.
No, my mom said I was born, and then she put the ball in my hands, and apparently couldn't let go from then. And I started playing basketball, yada 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 yada, that kind of
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
But so it's World Cup of basketball happening, and it's quite entertaining because France just left the favorites, or because they lost 2 games, the vital games, and the game today they lost to Latvia, which are neighbors in my country, and yeah, they were surprise losers because they were supposed to be winning the cup. Everybody was forecasting the France to go all the way to the finals, and now it doesn't look very good for them.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, because they have a very tight group, and Latvia surprised them. Like Americans, no, Canadians whooped their ass completely to the no end.
Oh yeah.
So ups to Canada, by the way. Yup, yup. Somehow
Yeah.
your NBA superstars now getting to go
Right.
national team and kicking surprising everybody. Yeah. So yeah, Canada is another dark horse that they're calling him now because they walloped France completely out of the way.
Wow. Yeah.
Like they won. Yeah, exactly. Losing to Latvia, and this is the greatest Latvia's achievement to in World Cup. So hey, yo.
Huh.
They have one superstar, a unicorn, as they call them, Porzingis, who was injured and they wasn't on the field. Oh my god, I'm talking basketball now. What the hell? Okay, stop. Let's forget about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I do like my sport when it comes to
Yeah. Yeah.
basketball. So and rugby as
You're,
well. Another
yeah.
rugby union all the way. Anyway, so yeah, my weekend was a bit sporty,
That's
way
cool.
too much. Yeah.
Right.
So part of that, I wasn't really doing other. I wanted to watch the Darrow show from Cape Faye because he was twice and they hosting,
Right.
and then they announced something. So what did he announce?
So he was talking about, he was one video where they looked at Corbin's Den, the new book that's
Mm-hmm.
come out, or
Mm-hmm.
coming out rather. Apparently it
Mm-hmm.
comes out next week. And then the other video was him talking about the new Shaolin Cowboy collection. So they were going through that book with him. And it was fantastic to just hear the stories of when he was making it. And, just hearing Darrow talk about his comics was pretty fucking great. I'm almost done. I'm like 10 minutes to the end. He's talking about Andrew Vax as well. So they're going to hopefully do an episode where they look at Andrew Vax stuff as well, since
Mm-hmm.
Darrow was good friends with him. So
Cool. All kind of Darrow information is nice. I just
it's great. Yeah, he's such a character, man. Just listening to him talking about, like, finding a dead animal on the side of the road, going back to get a hatchet from his house so he can collect the skull, bleach the skull so he has stuff to reference when he's drawing his big characters and stuff. It's great. It's a really good little chat. Well worth checking out.
Yeah, I definitely will be. So I'm a fan of Darrow for sure, and I had already kind of watched it, left it in the history, so it's there for me to
Yeah.
basically go back into it. But other things. But plus, it's a long weekend in the UK. We have bank holiday
Oh
tomorrow,
yeah.
so it's a bit more family time spending, together,
Hmm.
or at least we try to, like. With Rockers around and he needs attention and he blabs around and you now telling he has speech problems. Now we're telling him to shut up. Shh. No, don't
Yeah.
say it. No, don't copy. Don't copy. And you have
Yeah.
to
Right.
watch. You start to, because because it's late speech delay. We kind of like were free to kind of like blab foul languages at sometimes at each other. But now we have to watch we have to really watch our mouths because
Yeah.
he
Right.
just repeats, and of course he repeats only the bad words. You know, so you have to really watch your mind because
Yeah.
I don't
Right.
know what time when is in Canada a new school year happens, but it's gonna happen not next week but the week after.
Coming up. Yeah. Same with us. Yeah.
So it starts like on the 5th of September, which is kind of interesting date. But anyway, that's just, whatever. But yeah, it's a new year of school and he's progressing hopefully. And, we just don't want him to become like foul mouth kid when he comes back to school.
Yeah,
What did you
totally.
do on summertime? We taught him how to swear by mistake. It's not our fault.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But hey, look how clean he's saying the swear words.
Yeah, that's not a good sign anyway.
Yeah,
Okay.
right.
Do you want to kick us off with your
No, you should,
beautiful? Why?
because I'm gonna finish this and then go inside because this is a
Oh,
nightmare out
okay.
here.
Okay.
Yeah,
So,
go
so
ahead.
so to your kindness, I'll start to show stuff you kindly send my way.
Yeah, nice.
Let's get on with this one. Okay, if you're kicking me off. So I finally
Yes.
received this little beauty called the Canon. I absolutely love the production of this thing. I am
Yeah,
not. I am not versed into realm of your undergrounds as much. I've never been into zines because my world of comic books just kind of came into fruition when I just started YouTube channel. So I'm really new to this kind of format. But what I can tell you one thing: as a product, it's really well made. It feels
yeah, it's
extremely
beautiful.
exciting, and to have that in the hands, like 3D printed. I like the paper quality, everything as a production. So to tell the Colin, if you're watching us one day or something, just to tell you, I really like your work, and this is
Yeah,
definitely fantastic to have. And thanks to Terence, I I have a copy.
yeah,
Um,
nice.
you know what? I've seen you talk. Like you had a video with Colin talking about it, and I just kind of maybe forgot that you had like a little bit to
Yeah,
say about stuff in here.
yeah, right, right.
So I'm it's like Terence Fuller. Who's Terence Fuller?
Yeah,
It's like, I'm
yeah.
like that. And then I see your handwriting. I was like, oh bugger! Like what's wrong with my brain? Like age
Yeah, yeah.
maybe. So where'd you get this picture? I'm wondering. Did you draw it or?
I didn't get it. So he got that's from one of the comics.
Uh huh.
He put that together, that title page. Him and his friend, whose name I'm blanking on,
Uh
put
huh.
together that front title page because I didn't have a
Oh,
title page for it. So
okay.
he asked if they could just put something, and I said
Yeah.
it's from
I yeah.
the comics itself. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, you just dropped for a second. So I couldn't finish I didn't hear the whole sentence. I like this. I'm coming to kill you, to leave your boot to your scavengers of a night of sun. I just really like this
Yeah,
thing. And then afterwards, of course, you have written your experiences in your macabre comic book you found, and in how
yeah,
childlike art you love them so much, and it's really good. I really enjoyed yours, definitely. So
yeah. Cool.
I read yours first, to
Yes.
truthfully
Thank
honest,
you, Rasa. Thank you very much.
because I enjoyed it. And then after that, I suddenly kind of like forgot so I start from the middle basically. And I
Yep.
went to Gordo, and I absolutely loved the little tale about it. I never knew about Gus Ariola, and or I kind of probably heard from YouTube. Some of you guys were talking about, but then, like seeing this and this, and I actually started to do research, and I really enjoyed the way he's the cartoony style of that era was drawn. The
Yeah.
characters, I like one of my favorite things. So I really kind of like to explore Gordo world, and of course there's some other things were there, but I kind of like I didn't want to like just start and read through all of it because I felt I need to intake a lot of information. Of course I looked through all of it. I'm gonna really look forward reading this about Love and Rockets by Gary Asher, so that will be entertaining for me because I kind of want to get into the world of that, and of course other things, but that's the thing, a lot of information in this interviews, so I need to basically give myself to a time reading it because I want to intake information. I just don't want to skim it through, you know what I mean? Because I could do
Right.
just that. So yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. So thank you very much once again, and I'm probably gonna
Yeah.
give
No
you
worries.
a couple opinions about it later on. I mean, maybe I've completely finished this one, but it's really good format. And as I say, really nice of you to send it to my way, because I definitely
Yeah, no,
probably
thanks to
wouldn't.
Colin for sending another copy too, because he sent me
Oh,
two
okay.
copies, one for
Oh,
you and one for
lovely.
me. So yeah,
Oh, yeah, lovely. So thank you, Colin, as well. So yeah, really good. So because I don't think I would be able to get hold of this in my part of the
right.
pond. So yeah, very cool of you to do that. So yeah, this is one of the things I've actually did read.
Nice.
Yeah, I really like
So
it.
I'll show you. So I
Yeah,
checked with Colin yesterday. So
yeah.
it in about 2 or 3 weeks, he's saying the second issue is coming out.
Oh,
So here's a look at my next article for it.
okay,
Um,
cool.
I finished it off and scanned it for him, and this time I tried to make the images a little higher quality, and then
Uh-huh.
also put in some graphics and stuff too. So had some
Cool.
stuff, paste ups and things that I did. So that's coming. I think he said in 3 weeks possibly. So it was kind of
Cool.
fun to go the next level with it. I went and I put together some pieces,
Yeah.
kind of patched it all together so I could then print it. I also played with my deleter screen as well for
Oh, did
the,
you?
yeah. So I did this hand lettered and then used deleter to put the kind of shading on it and stuff too. So it
Mm.
was fun. It's super fun. Whoop,
Mhm.
dropping headphones.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh, where'd it go?
Okay, while
Stand by. Oh, there it is. Um,
He says I only
it
finished
was super
proofreading.
cool.
Cool.
Mm. Yeah, so that's what he's talking about in the next few weeks. The next issue will come out, so that's great. I'm glad that he's doing a second one. Can't wait to see it. And it's fun contributing, but it's so I'm not a writer, so it really was a struggle. It's a struggle to write my thoughts down about a couple of books, right?
Oof.
It's
Yeah.
not the easiest thing to kind of like write stuff, and then as soon as it's written, I'm kind of like, ah, fuck, I don't even know if I like it. But then it's like it's too late. There's a time limit. I have to send it in. It is how it is what it is. So thanks again to Colin for including me in his bringing the level of the book down a little bit for my nonsense.
So just to give about 5 cents of what it's very good writing, by the way. I got all the
Thank you very
points that
much.
you came across very, very well. Yeah, the graphics part of it would be nicer to see a bit better.
Yeah,
But what it takes, what it takes. You can go look for, you can see stuff of that. I honestly, I didn't believe that the comic, the macabre stories you were telling about that girl and the woman who has this uncles coming into, geez, that's kind of like I would not probably go for it. Like I wouldn't
it's
probably
a
read
hell.
that.
It's a hell of a comic, man. It's a hell of
Yeah,
an issue.
but it's
Yeah, and
intriguing.
this time I really spent some time. Like I printed up a lot of, scanned and printed um, a lot of
Hmm.
pieces just to kind of make them clearer.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to make sure that it looked better in the reproduction, and then I scanned it at
Mm-hmm.
300 DPI to try to keep the quality up there as well too. So really played with like contrast and stuff like that. Thank you very much, AFPC. I appreciate that.
You see,
So
you.
it's fun, and also it's just fun to kind of like put all this shit together. Like old school put the lines all over the paper, lay everything out properly.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's a cool process.
Okay. Well, it's very brave of you to do so. Like just put the if you say if you're not comfortable writing about your thoughts about what you're reading, but it's
Not at all.
you get better if
Yeah,
it's like people will give you. But yeah, just put that. It's like it's very intimidating in my books as well.
yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? So.
But I mean, basically, watch out for Canon #2 coming soon. I guess a couple of weeks,
Hmm.
few weeks.
No, that's cool. That's really good.
Yeah,
I wonder if somehow, because I don't know how you get where he's placing these comics where you can purchase it from. I mean, I know that there's a website and all that stuff. He has this couple of things which laid in information in the beginning. But
yeah.
as I say, for me, it was
Domino Books was carrying it. You could get in
yeah,
touch with Colin directly as well too.
yeah.
So yeah, he had a few places that he was kind of selling them.
Mm. Because, but just things shipping to across the pond is really pricey these days. So
Yeah,
it's not something you have to think twice before you want to commit to
yeah.
something like that because
I
it's
think
just
he also did. he did a PDF version as well for the first one,
Yeah.
and I think he's going to do a PDF version as well for the second one, just for
Okay.
that idea of like if there's people overseas that want to get it, where the
Yeah.
shipping is just really insane. At least then there's an option to read the magazine,
Yeah.
so you
Yeah.
can get a PDF copy of it. So
That would be good, another good option because honestly, but it's very
mhm,
nice to hold this in the hands. Honestly, it's because
yeah,
it's one thing you see from the screen, it's never when you actually handle it. So when you show it on the screen, I don't think you, even though we start to show you that it's much bigger than the comic book, blah blah blah,
yeah,
and radi radi da. But you know, like this, I can show it to you. This is
it's
compared to
beefy.
comic.
Yeah,
Yes, beefy is much bigger, but honestly, when you handle it in yourself, it just makes it much more real, you know, than just
yeah,
seeing it
totally.
on a screen. That's why I keep on saying as well that I like comic books in the comic format more than anything else due to the tangibility of it. It just makes it more pleasant for me as a reader
Yeah, right.
and as an entertainment for me to digest too.
Mhm.
Okay, so it's my turn now. Yes,
Yeah, you should
is it?
keep going because then I'm gonna move inside while you're
Okay,
talking about it. I'm gonna move my shit inside. So I'm gonna leave the room and then I'll come back in.
okay, cool.
Okay, I'll see you in a minute.
All right. So my turn. Okay, so yeah. So Terence is also obliged to send to me a sketchbook by Tundra, which he's been moaning, like talking about it a lot in his videos, and I also always wonder it about how like anything I've never seen. We never came across it because you know something you were not looking for. You usually tend to pass it by. But this is Tom Kidd's sketchbook. It's a volume 11 in Tundra sketchbook series. There's plenty of other creators I would definitely would like to have it in my collection, but this is absolutely wonderful. So it's a it's a realm of, as I say, Tom Kidd's sketchbook where he's basically creating this as he's whatever he found. He's been doing while he was doing covers for books mainly. I think he is what known for, and I definitely wasn't much aware of it. This toad with wings is one of my favorite things to see, especially in the line art. If you guys are well aware, I tend to put pen to paper and draw myself sometimes when I get inspiration or time. And this is very inspirational when it comes to somebody who likes to, as I say, draw and seeing some other people's creations, and it's marvelous to look at because I really do enjoy the ideas. And the beautiful part of this book and sketchbook is that he describes everything what he's drawn and what he felt when he did it. I have to drink. Something got stuck in my throat. So yeah, and I really enjoyed it. And I think Taryn sometimes always think do some stuff on purpose just to give me more kind of inspiration or thoughts when you put some comic for me when he sends it through. And I just imagine the world of this creator was absolutely fascinating. Like a wizard is so expressive. I just absolutely love looking at this tree-like things which is devours, and he has this little tales about it. Really fascinating. Not only that, this creator can do all sorts of things like sci-fi, or even just a tractor he sees by the side of the road when he explores. He's also absolutely goddamn beautiful artist and painter with us up like really good imagination, and no wonder he was like well known for book covers. And it's just a eye candy, this little book of his, just to browse through, and or maybe like some creators or artists like to keep a book of his inspiration. So definitely that. This is great. It says Watson's transformation. So Sherlock's having conversation with Watson being transformed into something which is in the painting format. And in this book also, they kind of advertise themselves where you can buy the prints in here, and you can buy Tom Kidd's hardback on Etsy, and also there's a hardback he calls a creation he wanted to do, of course, after publishing of this by Tundra, and it's called Gnome. And yeah, you can buy that in hardcover. It's really beautiful to look at. Right, what else? It's just marvelous things to show to you guys. A really beautiful book, so highly recommend if you can get a hold of it. Any probably of sketchbook series of visual stimuli, if you would like to do so, to have so. And oh, Terence is still not here, so I guess I'm going to talk another one. I'm going to run out of books I've read. So everything is going to come to Terence's field. And the last thing, he got me a Mirage Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles issue number 38 from 1991. And as a fan of the Turtles, I don't have many of Mirage series of Turtles in this format whatsoever. I've read some of the collected series. I really like this cover. First thing came into my mind, even because of the cow. It's a scroll book I read from Fantastic Four. Since that book reading, I cannot stop thinking about scroll cows and milk, and they transform people while they're drinking milk of scrolls into the scroll being, or like zombie-like beings. So it's called Spaced Out series. It's a story by Hedden McWeeny. So seems to be the other creators was working part of it in the Rush series of Teenage Mutant Turtles, and this feels really quirky. I mean, it doesn't take itself very seriously, what in comparison to what Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles comic book is doing these days. It's much more serious, intense, more like what would you say? Like more stories where it's not laughing out loud. It's more kind of like take it to a next level. And this one seems to be, especially art-wise and scenes in a comic book, very cartoony. Oh, Terence is back. Showing
Hello.
the turtle book you were giving to me.
Oh yeah, nice.
Okay, 2044, run generally known as guest era. Oh, okay. Had its highs and lows, but overall pretty cool. The recent landed is okay, cool. Yeah, I knew something about it. It's funny how the reprints we were saying earlier in one of the videos. Remember when they had this oversized Turtles books they came out with, and then certain issues are missing because the rights. I wonder how many of these who you save from issue 22 to 44 have problems reprinting it because somebody else was doing their work. But yeah, this book is really hilarious. So the aliens invading the Earth, and everybody going absolutely nuts, and it's like they're having this weird kind of like sexual connotations part of it in this, or just it feels like it. So the people who observes the space, they're going absolutely mad. Look at this scene. I mean, half naked girls on top of the guys. You never know what they're up to because they don't really describe. You're just being, who's in charge? It's like, oh, it's me. And then like turtles sleeping in the bed, almost like with tongues out, and they dreaming about this voluptuous lady above them. So yeah, it definitely doesn't take it much seriously with them. Anyway, so they get invaded, and one of them turtles have acid, and he's thinking about Splinter and his ideas, and he decides that he needs more milk to help his acid reflux. And he goes outside to milk a cow because they live in that time. It's actually quite good mention because in the newer comic books they mentioned about them living in the nowhere, like in on the farm. And in here, this is where the scenes basically happens. And he goes out to milk the cow, and Elias captures both of them because they want to completely take over the earth. And this sexy scene as well. It's just funny. It looks hilarious, but No, I don't know. Maybe I am more now because I've been reading newer comic books. It's always sense like it's always serious kind of. There's jokes parts, but not
Yeah.
as jokey as this was representing that time. Oh, it's the only one who hasn't granted. Okay. Yeah, Dave
Facing issue was
Simish.
passed over. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's the ones I was mentioning. But it's hilarious, and I thank you, Terence, because I don't have
Yeah,
many
no
of them,
worries.
and I can't find many of this. I mean, I can find some of them, but they all like really like or overpriced, or like absolutely in tatters. I remember once when I went to Comic Mart, I found some Turtle Mirage series, and basically didn't have a cover. The cover was missing, and I just didn't buy. I just wasn't committing to that kind of part.
Right.
So yeah, so really good little story with aliens and really funny looking things in here, and they introducing George Hoodie fan club. So yeah, very cool. So thanks to Terence to this.
Yeah, no worries. Glad you dug it.
Opens my, as I say, I'm not really haven't fully read all Mirage series from there to there. That kind of thing. When you go from the beginning till the end, it's kind of more things, whatever you find out, okay, whatever they did it. But I scattered issues I read from the Rush series, so it was never kind of fully registered in my brain. No content. Okay.
Cool.
So now you're back at home in your basement.
I'm here. I'm downstairs. Yeah. It's just much easier.
No more sunshine for you then.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah, it's so nice sitting out there, but yeah, it's just not too much trouble.
Working.
More trouble than it's worth.
Okay. So now your turn. You go blast a couple of them out.
Okay. Why don't we look at this one? This one kind of blew my mind. I know AFPC knows it. This is the only issue I have until last night. I found a Canadian seller that has 2 more issues of this. So this is issue 2. Speaking of staying in the world of tundra and sort of turtles related. This is a 6-issue miniseries called Rain. And let me get the names correct here. So the artist and writer is Rolf F. Stark, are the credits there. Rolf also did some work in Fantico's Gore Shriek in a few issues. I went and kind of had another look at those because I've got those ones digitally. I don't have hard copies of those. They're now they've shot to the top of the list to try to find, because there's some incredible stuff in there. Rick McCollum also appears in that as well. But this guy, holy hell, man, this is a hell of a book. So the first thing that kind of sets you off is just the work itself, just the art itself has a real kind of underground feel, has a real sort of looks like everything is done with chunky black markers. The story it feels like there's like 3 different narratives going through this book. Like the kind of base story, like the dialogue story. Then there's this narration that this main character is having. He's having his own journey through this. Then there's kind of sometimes another narration that's going through the pages as well too. So confusing as all hell. There's some sort of, this guy, our main character, was in an accident is what it's looking like, and there was somebody else in one of the other vehicles. I believe this is all just kind of guesses. I only read it once. It's a series that I think I need to read in its completion, kind of sit and read the whole thing. But then there's this, he's tying back to nature and possibly what almost reads like another life, maybe another life that he had. But I'm not sure. But these pages are unreal, and it just gets kind of wilder. I'll show you the one that, these are the pages that really boggled my mind here when I got to them. On something like this, it illustrates that kind of multiple narratives in a really nice way. In the background, we're getting one set of images, then we're getting these paneled images, and then on the next page, we're getting images kind of flashing back to his childhood with this one girl. At least I think it's the main character's childhood. But these are intense. This is an intense read. I posted it on Twitter last night, and somebody had said that the whole book is a very, very intense experience. I'm so looking forward to this. This has been on my radar for quite a while, but it's not one that you often find. And then you get pages like this too, bombers, and it's just such a wild story. The visuals are just very, very unique. There's some in the Gore Shriek stuff when I was looking at those pages again, or those stories again. There's a bit of like a Rory Hayes element, which is kind of an older, he was a younger guy. He was an underground artist as well too. He did the Boogeyman series. Some of his creatures in Gore Shriek really have a Rory Hayes kind of vibe to them, but these pages are just gorgeous. And again, like one of the bonuses of kind of digging into some of these books and finding these in the bins. This is one of the books that I got from Nate, the guy that sent me that box of stuff.
Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful stuff. And I love that it's not polished in a way that you're used to. It is really, you can see the mark making, you can see almost the tools, even stuff like this. This page is pretty fantastic as they're having their intimate relations here and just giving us close-ups and things. But man, oh man, taking, and at one point she says, let's take off this mask, and then you switch to again this almost like this other life that this main character may have had, or something that he's in tune with, or something that's haunting him anyway. But that image is pretty grisly looking there, as this kind of what looks like a skin mask is being peeled off of our main character to reveal the people underneath. This is a hell of a book. Every single issue has just the one single panel on the front and the Rain title in big bold letters on the front as well too. And then on the back cover, you get kind of looking and seeing what he's seeing. But so there's this Canadian seller on eBay. He had 2 other issues plus a couple of other books. The prices were cheap on all of them because it was Canadian. The shipping was super cheap as well too. So I'm looking forward to getting a couple more of these. So, and from what I understand, there was a lot of times with some of the Tundra stuff, it either didn't end up coming out or it didn't get finished. This one did get completed. There are 6 issues. It's from 1990, I think. That's what the image is dated anyway. 1991 is when this came out. So, man, I'm I'm so excited about this one. I sent a message to Nate afterwards and said, man, if you find any more of these issues, I'd pay you, like I need the issues. I need to finish that story because that looks kind of like a high watermark for sure. So that was an absolute blast to read that one.
Can I ask a question? When you see the panels, especially in black and white, being so busy, especially you have panel and the panel and the panel, where do you think the artist's focus point would? Because you have always a drawing line where your focus first in the page, because it's what mesmerizing me. Where parts, sure.
Stuff like this, honestly, I think when I see stuff like this, I always feel like the artist is exercising some sort of demons. You know what I mean? Where I don't think he's thinking about focal points. I don't think he's thinking about your eye moving through the page. This is someone who he's got this story that he wants to tell in a way. I mean, I could be 100% wrong about this. Maybe he's very well versed in comic storytelling and has made this a very specific decision. But I always feel like these are people that they've got a story and they have to get it out in some way. And this is how it gets out there. And honestly, that's the thing that's a real challenge about this. That's the biggest challenge because of the multiple kind of narratives going. It's really hard to decipher what the hell is going on in the page. What I ended up doing eventually was kind of trying to focus on if there's some narration boxes, I read all of those first. Then I went back to the top of the page and read the dialogue boxes. And then if there was a narration, because he does pretty well with kind of changing the border on when there's 2 different narrations going, then I would read the other one if it was on the page. But there were sometimes I was struggling to figure out what the hell was going on the page, period. But again, I feel like that's kind of part of its charm, where this isn't something where you can just passively sit back and kind of get the story presented to you. You've got to dig. And I can absolutely see that as being something that might turn people off. But when the pages look like that, I love kind of digging into those details a little bit more and trying to figure out what the hell is going on. Yeah, you had mentioned in that chat too there, AFPC. So I'm super excited about it. I'm so glad to have one of these issues in my hand because The Gore Shriek stuff is so expensive. I know they did some collections of that material, so I think that's maybe the way that I'll go, because you can still go to the Fantico website and buy some of that stuff. And the
Oh.
actual this Rolf Stark did one of the covers for one of the collections. They had multiple covers with some of their kind of well-known artists from that Gore Shriek series. So he did a cover for one of the collections. I think I might dig into that and try to pick that up. But yeah, it's an amazing little story so far. Like I said, I feel like I've just got a smallest nugget of what the hell it's about. Curious to see where it goes, how it started, all that. So
So you
yeah.
said 6 issues in this range there.
6 issues. They had a bunch of them on, for those of you in the United States, they have a bunch of them. I think 5 of the 6 issues on Lone Star, so my comic shop. When I put them in my cart and went to do a checkout, it took the rain out of my cart and said, we can't ship these to Canada, basically. So I'm unable to get them from Lone Star because it's an adult comic, even though I don't know. Again, I don't know the rest of the issues. Yeah, sure, there's a little bit of nudity in here, but Lone Star they really don't take any chances sending stuff across the border, because that's happened to me in the past too when I've tried to order some stuff, probably some Eros titles from them, where they've just kind of taken it out of the cart and said, nope, we're not sending those. You can't buy those in Canada, basically. So for those of you in the States, there is 5 of 6 issues. I think it's the first 5 on Lone Star right now for a pretty decent price, a couple of bucks a piece, I think. $2 or $3 a piece, I think, is what it was listed at. So yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Interesting. So
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't thinking that even via post they would be kind of like not sending those.
I guess they've gotten busted enough times where they're like, fuck it, it's not worth the trouble. It gets
Or
sent back
maybe,
to us or whatever. Like, forget about it. We're just not going to
yeah,
gamble,
yeah. Okay. So
which is
that, and
unfortunate.
yeah. Well, at least you had, like always. That's a good thing about when you've been sent that ginormous stack of things.
Ginormous.
And then you find this little gem and where you want to get and discover the whole thing is that's the thing all about, like that's the beauty.
Yeah.
When you start discovering the comic books, you don't, or somebody like you send or me something as well, and it was like, I'm not very comfortable that realm yet, but it's nice for you to kind of open that world to me a little bit more, so where I get more curious to understand and can delve into it, because you start feeling a bit more comfortable to go for it, like kind of thing.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, and honestly, there's so many times you end up getting burned. It's nice to kind of, because they may look fantastic. I mean, I love the covers on this. I haven't read it yet. I don't know how it's going to be, but I'm curious enough to read it. But I mean, it might be a steaming pile of crap, so it's nice to kind of go through all these stacks of stuff and find that stuff that's really just brilliant and stuff that you just is completely off your radar. You don't hear people talking about the book. It's not like this Rolf Stark has gone on to become this ginormous name in comics or anything, right? So it's these people that get lost to time a little bit. It's nice to rediscover them.
Well, the thing is, it's also easier to explore that realm, especially if you buy the comics in the cheaper bins, like those bins we keep on talking about. It's much more easier for you to basically take a chance, because you're not spending a little fortune, and say, oh god damn it, like how much money did you want me to spend? And it's not like up to your own standards, whatever you're expecting the book to be. So
yeah, AFPC makes a good point. Just not lower, but just adjust your expectations when reading books like those. Absolutely. And I think understanding that you're seeing someone's vision who is kind of, the ones that work for me the best are the ones that are really working outside of, they're not trying to do their version of a superhero story. They're not trying to do their version of something else. They're doing a comic and a story that means something to them, like that Macabre issue that you were talking about in Canon 1 there. That is a mind-blowing issue, because again, this is a story that they wanted to tell, and this is it presented, and you kind of have to almost forget about the history of comics, even though sometimes that can really add to the whole thing too, right? If you know kind of the arc of comics as a medium, to see where it gets up to, I think is an interesting thing. But honestly, it's looking at them as their own thing and sort of keeping it in its own bubble, as opposed to comparing it and doing all these other things that people just naturally do, right? Myself included. So
cool. All right. So shall I do it, or you want to do it?
yes, no, go ahead.
Okay, cool. So I had to that luck of mine going to the car boot sale and getting the comic book. So I said, okay, let's see what I got and see what's actually it's there. So the first one I went for is the Scarecrow
Oh, that's right.
Marvel
Yeah.
Spotlight of spine-chilling spectacular. Number 26. It's called the Death Quest, and it's surprisingly, like this is the era where I absolutely love this kind of type of storylines, because they are not gonna not gonna blow your socks off, but it's just extremely entertaining, and the level of art, no matter who's been drawing in that time, for me, maybe it's just because I like it that much, it just becomes extremely spectacular to look at. This one is by Scott Edelman, is an author. Ruben Yandok is an illustrator. Petra Goldberg is a colorist. And San Jose, a letterer. And Mar Wolfen in the time was an editor. So the story of the painting of a scarecrow who comes to fruition in this house, and spine-chilling quests of him to find this thing and scare the living hell out of the other people. But to our surprises, he wasn't a bad guy. The people who's after them were, oh, that's an ad, sorry, where it's all about the guys, that little whore in here, which apparently was the bad guy behind the storyline. I absolutely love, and things are crashing down now because I'm putting hands to something. I really like the action scenes in here. As you can, this is one of my favorite panels here. The movement of falling down, that whooshing movement of the it's just so helpful. And what I really enjoy, you always have this couple who is always kind of like in the wrong time, in the wrong moment, where they kind of having this couples talk, and they see this thing which is on the floor and they didn't realize who it is, and they get really petrified. And we have this guy who is an artist, and he's kind of like moody, but to their own surprise, they go into this aquarium with we have this ginormous fish in there, because it's just they kind of supporting the museum in there, and the whole action comes in that aquarium, and water puddles through, action ensues. And thankfully my Marvel stamp is intact, even though I paid only 40p for the comic book, which is absolutely fantastic. That's what you have to look for in that. And this is the action scenes, and the water splashing with, looks like fire. It actually it is fire at the beginning, and then the water, and it's just, this is what it is all about, the actions, the fish somehow becomes attacking all of them, and the expressions in the comic are just one of the best things I've like to read, and it's extremely entertaining. Like this page as well, I absolutely love. Looks a lot of actions happening, but all this face expressions, it's amazing that to a level of artists they were in that time. And spoiler alert, this is the bad guy.
Awesome.
And it's apparently he's in disguise. Well, no, he's feuding with the Scarecrow in the previous issue, and this is kind of annoying, to be continued someday. And it probably never happened.
Yeah, probably
because
not.
in the issue of a Scarecrow, which I'm okay with that. But this kind of little Marvel spotlight stuff it's really cool, especially like I got hold of it so cheaply. It's so entertaining. It's in rough shape, honestly, but it's extremely entertaining read. Like an action scene with a little bit of the, like beautiful faces. I absolutely love the stories when pictures comes into kind of life, or they can disappear. His ability, how he managed to basically escape the Scarecrow, because everybody was after him because he's a Scarecrow, but he escaped due to he managed to hide himself in a sketchbook. That's how what it was escape plan without people
Mm-hmm.
realizing. And the artist was like, I didn't think I drew that. It's like the pages were blank. They were blank at the beginning of the story. Oh, hello, Damien.
Hello.
There's did more. Oh.
So maybe there's another one out there possibly.
Oof, if there is, please do let me know, because I definitely want to see where this feud between those two guys are, what kind of continuation you have. And honestly, to my surprise, because I was reading this as well to my son, because he likes scary stuff. Not like this kind of Marvel is not really scary.
Yeah, no, for sure.
I was reading him a story of Spider-Man advertisement, and he had more laugh than the whole comic book. So, come on, man.
Yeah, right.
Because they were Spider-Man was like advertising Twinkies in that
Yeah,
time.
right.
But I was thinking, well,
course
I
he
wanted
was.
to see his reaction, and he was thoroughly entertained. It's like, yeah, more
Yeah, that's
Spider-Man. I
awesome.
was like, oh no, come on, man! It's all about Scarecrow and scary stuff. My son,
No, it's all about the ad.
yeah, my son is absolutely obsessed with Superman now. Everything is Superman.
Oh, yeah.
I show him Doctor Strange, that
Yep.
ginormous Doctor. Thank you, Damon, by the way, once again, of that Doctor Strange book, and he's like, Superman. It's like, dude, I know it's red and blue and yellow. Not, I don't have as much as I want to, but I have a couple of them. I have, honestly, my all the Spider-Man's books I have kept is kind of those expensive ones, like Venom's first appearance. It's like, I don't want to open it up because my son
Yeah,
goes. So when I read a comic book, sometimes he tends to. So I'm reading, and he's like right behind me. He just slaps the book down. It's like, oh. So I don't really would like to do that at the moment. So
right.
he's not careful with books yet. And the comic books, he's extremely entertained by the pictures, and he likes that. But as I say, everything for him is Superman at the moment. No matter how blue, red, and yellow. That's it, Superman. It's like, no, it's Doctor
Yeah.
Strange, man.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like mystic magic of macabre. And he's like, he looks at you like, eh?
Yeah.
Not yet, kind of thing. But
I read a bunch of old Spider-Man with Jaden when he was little, and they were an absolute, like, they were so much fun to read aloud,
Yeah.
first of all, but he loved them. We had a great time. We read a whole bunch because my brother had a bunch, and then we found some. They were they were so good comics for kids.
Yeah.
They're meant to be slapped from the hands of parents. Hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are a lot of fun to read. Yeah, they were
Yeah.
so much fun to read with Jaden. He loved them.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to do that with first appearance of Venom. I do,
Yeah, right.
and I do completely agree with you. I actually tried. I had a couple of them, the reprints of Marvel Tales,
Mhm.
and I know I put them somewhere, but I can't find it at the moment. But Marvel Tales can be sometimes really pricey because they now think that it's reprint or reprint, but it's like a third, fourth, fifth, sixth appearance of somebody else. And
Right.
especially Spidey ones, because Spidey books are very popular, especially the older ones. Because like the Craven the Hunter, I showed him a picture of Craven the Hunter, and he's like, "Whoa, who's that?" Like that. It's like
Mhm.
the guy who hunts. Oh, okay. It's like,
Yeah,
he
yeah.
was like wanted something more from the Craven the Hunter. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So anyway, so
Yeah,
that's
cool.
part of the reading for me and my son. But yeah,
Mhm.
okay, your time.
So this will be a quick one, then I'll get into the meat of it.
Okay,
I
cool.
picked up these Night
Mhm.
Terrors Zatanna.
Mhm.
This should have been maybe 2 pages in one of the stories.
Uh-huh.
So, I mean, unless you're really, really determined to try it out, Rasa, honestly, you
Yeah.
can absolutely miss this. It is just not, it's not good.
Oh no.
Because it's like they tried to stretch this little scene into, thank God
Mm,
it's only 2 issues. They tried to stretch this little scene into
yeah.
2 issues, and it
Oh
was
wow.
just really, really dull. And the dialogue was dull. I mean, even more dull than kind of what you'd expect from stuff. So I read this first because I
Mhm.
was really curious. Like we'd talked about, this was one of those from this whole Night Terrors that I was curious to see what it was like.
Mhm.
So I'm glad I read it first because it was pretty disappointing. Because then when I got in, because I caught up, so this is coming out bi-weekly. I think you talked about this issue
Yeah.
last week, this is number
Mhm.
3, and
Yeah.
then the fucking gorgeous cover for
Oof.
now. I mean, all the covers are gorgeous, but number
Yeah.
4 is gorgeous. Man, yeah, exactly. Stretched out
Yeah.
event comic. What a shock.
Yeah.
This book though, this one is so good. This main Night Terrors, these
Hmm.
2 issues were really just as good as the other ones. I won't talk to you too much about the 4th one because
Yeah, I have to
there
get
are
hold of it. I didn't realize that they're going so quickly to release them.
yeah, every 2 weeks, and I think it's the last one. I think the next one is now the
Yeah.
wrap up, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Um, so you talked about this already. First of all, like the art is so good in this. I love the
Hmm.
kind of different style when it's the Dead Man story. I love that Dead Man becomes kind of the host of this house of horrors
Hmm.
type of idea here.
Yeah.
It's such a it's just and again, like keeping in mind that yes, it is an event book, and yes, all of the stuff that comes with that.
Hmm.
Um, I'm liking this one. I have no
Hmm.
desire to read. Yeah, absolutely. I have no desire to read any of the other offshoots. They
Yeah.
had a
Yeah. Me
bunch of
too.
them on the shelf, and I just had a quick flip through of 1 or 2 of them. They didn't appeal to me too much, but again, thankfully, this story kind of stands on its own. I guess there was a free comic book day, Night Terrors, maybe like
Yes.
a single issue prequel to this.
Yes, it was.
Um,
Yeah.
that sort of had a little bit more of a story. I might try to find that. I'm not gonna look too hard for it though. If I see it, I
Yeah.
see it. Yeah, and I really dig this main story, and I love when they enter this dream world, or this in between world where
Hmm.
Batman sort of takes on Dead Man's costume, almost looking a little daredevilish there,
Oh
but
yeah, I wanted to say the same
it's
thing.
pretty cool. I really dig it. I think for an event book, this is pretty goddamn entertaining.
Yeah.
So I'm really curious to see how it ends, but I'll take the other one out of the bag to show you the
Yeah. Go on.
cover. Like I said, I won't go through any of the pages because a lot happens in this issue.
Hmm.
But
Oof,
just get
I
a
love that
close look at
cover.
that
Oof, look at
fucking gorgeous dead man
it.
with Batman and Sandman in his hands and light glowing. Man, it's so good. It's really, really cool. But yeah, really solid issue. I'm really curious to see the final issue.
Yeah.
Uh, I'm pleasantly surprised. I'll just show you the first page because it's just his intro. I'm just really
Yeah.
pleasantly surprised. Um,
I think it
Obviously pretty
helps.
skeptical of going into it, but I love Dead Man, so it was well worth it. I think personally it was worth it.
I think it helps that we don't read much of DC books,
Right.
and I don't know how I managed to be sucked in by you and
It's
by
because it's
your
Dead Man.
no. Yes, first of all, but also those covers. It's the first time I actually went out of my way. Yep.
Right.
Yeah, we were talking about that either as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Who it's who did the covers? I think is that what is his name?
Let me see. Stand by. Give me 1 sec.
Isn't it
I
Ivan
will
Reese?
find that out.
I think it's Ivan Reese. But anyway, but what it is helps because me and Terrence we don't go into realm of DC comic books in the continuation of the new things. So when we get to this, it's actually quite refreshing just to read this story only, and we don't go into offshoots as well. But honestly,
Right.
those covers are the honestly really beautiful. I love the color scheme, so it's just so easy because it's always doom and gloom in DC most of the time, and seeing this bright colors shooting through with all this superheroes is so fantastic to look at. And
Totally.
story, honestly, it's something of and very entertaining because as also I can say to attest to that because I'm a Deadman fan. It's really fantastic. As I say, my favorite thing is Deadman going into Batman's body and just completely taking over, and Batman can't do nothing about it, which is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
What happened? I don't know if he
No,
was not
nothing
doing.
happened as written. No, nothing happened.
No,
Just missing him because he hasn't been doing anything.
yeah,
So it doesn't say inside there. It's confusing because it lists all the people that did the variant covers. But
yeah,
according to CLZ, it's Ivan Reis,
yeah,
Reis,
yeah,
did the Darkest Hour Neon Ink variants is
yeah,
who did those. And also while I was out in Minneapolis, I did find the original, not the
yeah.
not the other one, not the false variant or whatever, or the
Oh,
incorrect one.
are you gonna
But
sell it?
dude, These need, yeah, I'm going to try to sell it. These need to be framed. You know what I mean? I hope they keep it up for the final issue as well, too, for the wrap up. I hope they still do a neon ink
it
variant
is.
for it. Oh, did they? Okay, cool.
I checked preview kind of somewhere I found, because I was looking to see, because when you told me about that came out, I was like, what? So how did I miss that? And then I went to the website where in the big bookshop we have a previews as well. So, and they were showing the end. I think is going to be cold, extra chunky. Hello.
Hi.
Hello. Are you going out?
Bye. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Going to see Una?
Yeah. My boots.
Yeah.
My boots stuck.
Yeah.
Coming to say hello?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hello.
Hello.
We'll have to have you on next week and talk about some books, because you've
Yeah.
got a few you can probably talk about, eh? Yeah.
Mm.
Especially after read some of the new ones that you
Killer
got.
shirt. There you go.
Yeah, it's pretty nice sweater, hey? Yeah.
Princess and highly.
Here, stand up so they can see it again.
I quit. Let's see if I can stand up without like hurting myself.
Everybody's saying hello.
Hello.
I just wanted to give you your limelight, so I left.
Pretty sweet.
No, sorry, something happened with my computer.
Okay. Have fun.
Bye.
See you later.
Have fun. Another hi.
Yeah. Special guest appearance.
Yeah. So I'm glad you it's enjoyable after that issue with the Batman in that other round with Damien, or Deadman and Damien.
I dig it, man. I really like it. Yeah, I really like it. It's a real nice it's a really enjoyable book. I mean, again, like we were talking about with that rain, it's my expectations for those kind of books are really, really low. So it's nice to kind of go into something and just enjoy it. It's pretty solid.
I'm glad that they had a, like art wise is spot on. Deadman looks great. The way the story is a bit mysterious. Not like nothing's gonna blow us off, but as I say, really, really kind of entertaining so far. Afterwards, when you take a break, I think that's what it is. Maybe that's helps.
It spells it out pretty nicely in the 4th issue too. Like there's a lot of reveals in the 4th issue that really kind of course, ramp everything up. So I'm curious to see how it's gonna wrap up in one issue. I'm really curious what they're gonna do. So I know, again, I'm not expecting an incredible kind of ribbon on it, but I'm just curious.
I don't think you should even go for that expectation levels. It's most likely go for the disappointment, and if it surprises you, like score 1. But yeah, I'm thinking as well how to display those. For the first time, I want the covers to be displayed. And how do I even thinking 3D printing maybe a kind of like stands for them on purpose, which is kind of interesting if I've never done it to anything. I like covers in general. I like comic book covers in generally, but just having that. This is just the way it just looks. It's just I like the colors. I'm such a fan of them.
Yeah.
So I read another issue of that Spider-Man series by Wade, and it's called wait. If I'm gonna Metropolis. I didn't finish yet. I'm taking my sweet time. So it's chapter 2, Metropolis. So our Superman human / we don't know experiment is in relationship. He's now a writer. He's not a journalist. He needs to point it out really clearly because he's Clark Kent name, but he's been given so much hard time. He didn't want to become a journalist. But from now and then he goes into help people when accidents happens, and he's becoming that kind of lad of beautiful scenes drawn, but really feels extremely realistic and staggered. Sometimes feels with this art that figures are quite stiff. They doesn't have fluidity to them. So he has this relationship now. Everything seems to be going really well with this girlfriend, but things he's at the back of his head. He's always kind of doubting because somebody is going to come after him, and it did happen in the issue where he got captured, and it's always at the back of his head. But this relationship where he's having complete and utter trust with, or somebody knows his real identity, that he has the superpowers, comforts him and scares him at the same time. And we do in this second issue, we realize that he Oh, this is the kidnapping which happens. So they basically on purposely made an event where he's going to spot it. Kind of like they kind of looked out for him, and they made this event where accident happens. He goes into saving mode, but instead attack happens, and they capture him. Sorry, I'm kind of like maybe mixed the stories from the first one to the second one. So he gets really captured in this tank of water or whatever, and they start to experiment him. They put sedating him, trying to sedate him, so make sure that they can extract whatever they want to extract from him. But he was keep him waking it up. Curious. The reading part is actually quite interesting because it does kind of, you can't read it for a long time, at least for myself. Also, my keep the things what I've read is kind of difficult sometimes as well. It depends on the time of reading I'm doing, but it's not my favorite thing to do. But it's part of it. Sometimes I have it because I have this. I'm using tablet quite often in my daily life, so it's kind of it's easier to do reading before sleeping in a tablet, even though it's not really kind of good for you, but it makes me sleepy, so it works on me. But it's not.
Do you find that it irritates your eyes though, or anything like seeing the screen, or is it like do you find yourself drained by doing it?
It does, as I say, I can't do it for a really long time, so that's why I'm saying I read chapters, like I read issues. I don't read the whole graphic, for example, if I have the whole run, because I have this the whole 4 issues run. I can't go through it all the way, kind of thing, or I have to go in chunks, because the thing is what it does, what makes you a comic, if you say if you compare my tablet and I have the print, the backlight is actually completely enhances art in a different direction. It makes your art pop even more. The art, it just goes kind of like it has, there's no there's no too much of dark shadows. If it's too dark, sometimes it is too dark, but I find that it's actually gives you quite more in the light because of the backlight you have from the tablet.
Blue light protector. I've never even heard of that.
Yeah, you can wear glasses with a special tint, which protects your eyes from the blue light, which is what tends to happen. You can get headaches more often, or like he says, it drains. It feels him like it's tired. It might be that you're reacting actually to your blue light. Sometimes people saying that have reverse experiences, but as I say, I'm using my tablet quite often. Maybe I'm already used to it, so I don't know if it doesn't really affect me, but I know when I'm reading it and I choose to read right just before I go sleep, maybe it's no, I don't know, it just makes me, I can't read more than 1 issue, let's say this way, it just makes me kind of sleepy at that. Oh, there you go. Scarecrow story continues. Marvel Toon 1, number 18. Thanks very much. Now it's on my list. Marvel. I definitely gonna get hold of it because it's honestly entertaining and I want to see what will happen, because like you read something and there's a continuation, but you don't know if it's gonna be there. You can leave it behind, but so going back to the story, so he get captured and he's really kind of like cross, so he doesn't understand. He kind of completely destroys that lab where he was captured, and he afterwards feels absolutely betrayed by himself. Most likely that he didn't notice, he didn't hear anybody behind him, how he got caught. So because those powers of his supposed to be protecting him in some ways, but he didn't feel like there would be somebody coming after him, and that becomes like an awakening point. And then he hid himself from the public for about 2 months. Even the work people was asking him like, what's happening to you, where did you go? And that relationship with Louis, but she's not Louis Lane, but she's Louis, he has is becoming more of kind of like at the back of his head. And then afterwards, I was reading that she's pregnant. So now he has babies coming into life. So there's lots of this dynamic. I really like the way it's written. It's really entertaining to read a Superman comic book.
Mhm.
So, oh, okay, intensity. Interesting. Right. So yeah. So as a comic, so far as a Superman is entertaining because of the human aspect, that he's not from, he's not an alien. He's a human. He thinks that's at least what he thinks. That's what the story so far is unraveling to us. He thinks that his parents are still his parents, but he's doubting himself. He also thinks that maybe he somehow gained the powers. Maybe somebody did experiment on him, and there's somebody else's, because he saw dead bodies in that lab while he was captured, and also there was babies. So is he a clone, or is he not? Or like that kind of questions, which that gives you entertaining point to read going forward, to see where the story gonna go with him, even though kind of we know with Superman has a clone in the DC universe. We know that kind of part. So easy going to that one. But I'm taking my time, as I say, reading the lit because it's in digital format. But I'm thoroughly enjoying it so far with those little snippets of information.
Yeah, cool. Very cool.
Oh, yeah. Which just doesn't cut to comics reading. Yes.
Of course,
yes,
yeah.
it is. It is.
But he also says earlier, I haven't used a blue filter in a while. There's also less eye strain because you can make the panels larger, which also makes sense. I've just always associated, because they say about the blue light coming from the screen is not good for you before you go to bed. It triggers your brain that it's daytime, etc., all of those things.
It's definitely not the right way I'm dealing with that kind of situation. But like when somebody sleeps next to you and you want still to read something,
yeah, right.
You can't have, like I used to do the flashlight thing. That flashlight used to be so jarring, even for myself, because when it's kind of backlights straight at your eyes from the page, especially if you're reading the newer comic books, those kind of like comic books like this, they won't do that to you because it's the paper. But those new comic books is definitely something you wouldn't want to flashlight to it.
Glare.
You'll get glare back to it. So yeah, I don't know. I just somehow as I say, I'm using tablet quite often in my daily use. So I guess maybe I'm used to that. But yeah. Oh, I think. Yeah.
Gotta cut that shit out. I've told you.
Yeah. Jeez Louise,
Yeah.
But yeah. Another thing,
sorry,
just to point, just for, I can't read comic books on a computer screen. I don't know what's the big deal. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe tablet somehow has a different thingy going on with technology wise. But I tried to read. My tablet died several times, and I was like, oh my god, kind of thing. And I was like, oh, I want to read something because I had in my library. So I put that library through. Put it on the screen. It's like, no, I can't do this. What is going on? So I don't know. Maybe it's just a computer screen that affected me as well.
Yeah. Oh, hello. So I won't say much about this one. This is not good anymore. It had some promise in issue number 2, but this one was kind of sucked. I think it's only got an issue or 2 left, so I'm gonna see it out to the end. But it went back to not being very enjoyable. So to talk about something that was enjoyable, and another one that I think AFPC pointed out in the chat there when I was looking at these books, The Adventures of BOC from Invasion Comics. There's 3 issues of this. They didn't have the other 2 on Lone Star. Holy shit, was this story confusing. You're either channeling the light, or you're in service to the light, or you become the light. There's this whole religion set up. It was really confusing. But it's another one where I love the style. I love this kind of, it almost feels like it's quick, like drawn pretty quick. But I love that kind of energy on the page where things always feel moving. Damien will appreciate this. At times when I was reading this, it really felt like the Final Kingdom. Is that what that book was that we were reading there all those years ago? It was that level of density where there was a whole kind of history trying to cram in all of these different characters and all of these different
Oh.
gods and all these different ideas into the panels that I just eventually, honestly, I kind of started just sort of reading it and just kind of took in the pages themselves. I love these pages so much. Yeah, you just have to submit to the light. I love these pages so much. I'm really curious to get these other 2 issues. I put them on my wish list on Lone Star just to see if they pop up. But like, look at these faces. How fucking great is that? Again, like, it's just someone that's just drawing and wants to draw, but has a really cool style. Yeah, Jack Katz has a really cool style to his art that I think works. Whoa, focus. Works really well. And then you get these high energy,
Ooh.
just insane. Yes, submit. Okay, to the comic as it is. Just insane energy on this page with the characters in the foreground. This was so much fun. Again, like, it's going to be for the next year. I'm going to be giving shout outs to Nate, but I have to say thank you again to Nate for this stack of books. We're starting off strong for sure with these couple of books. But yeah, just page after page. And I haven't looked into the creators themselves. Let's get some names. So, story by Thomas Perry and James Pastorino and Paul Martin. And then the art is by James Pastorino. And then what's also so great about the end is they get kind of the missives from the team talking about, thanks for checking out Invasion Comics. We got a lot of plans for you. We got this, we got that, we got the other thing. As far as I can tell, there was only these 3 issues from Invasion Comics, and they didn't do anything else. Am I correct in that? Or at least that's what they had listed on Lone Star. They only had the 3 issues of this. So much fun. Really, really cool. Sort of has a Josh Baer kind of vibe to it. And some of those kind of modern guys who are kind of working in this sort of style or within this genre. So yeah, very, very, very cool stuff. But yeah, those faces are unreal, man. And it's always the thing, like I was saying when we were looking through, never published another book. Okay, when we were looking through the box, you can always tell that it's, I mean, just by that cover, I was pretty damn certain this was going to be a keeper. But when you open that first page and you see that it's not super clean, that perspective on the main character, the camera's a little bit higher, looking down on him and stuff. You're in for a treat just based off that first page. Also has kind of like a Strange Embrace vibe to that character, which was another fantastic book by the name that it's going to escape me. Someone in the chat will know. But yeah, really entertaining stuff, even though I couldn't make heads or tails of what the hell was going on in there. But there's some sort of religion. There's some sort of changing of the guard. This guy is accepting the fact that he has this power. He's just got to embrace it. Yeah, pretty cool.
So black and white, because of the black and white, when you see those scratch lines and you say it's like busyness and stuff like that, sometimes I find it when I look some of the things you show to me, but like from perspective of away, like not to you just on the screen, feels like explosion all the time. And on those scratch lines, it seems like something is just gonna go completely out of it. So it's interesting, especially in black and white. When it's at busy, I find that my brain scatters all over the page. So I don't, because I can't sometimes see like I was mentioning that before, and I'll ask you where's the focal point, because what I tend to find when I read black and white comic books is that my eye tends to wander at the beginning before I start reading the bubbles. So I kind of look around and it's like, so, and they get a little bit distracted, I guess, I presume so. And then I start reading the story and see how it goes forward then. So
yeah, David Hine, he's mentioned it there. Yeah, and I think that's like when we look at when I looked at that Rain there, we're talking about the Rain book with some of the black and white. I think what I love about it too is that each page kind of becomes its own piece of art where there happens to be a story through it, but it just becomes its own piece. But yeah, and it almost enters, entering the abstract, right? Where there's not a focal point. There's not necessarily like a flow that you can find that's pushing you in the face. It becomes this whole piece unto itself. So yeah. Cool shit, man.
like you say, the perspective, when they play with perspective and not afraid to put it on the first page, I think that's extremely brave, but it also makes it leaps forward, like makes you kind of, like you say, oh, I know what's going to see next page, how far you're going to dwell into it, because, you can go always play safe with the things of the panels if you're not unsure of, especially perspective, not an easy beast to handle.
It ain't easy. No, for sure it isn't.
Yeah. So I'm going to talk about the Man of Bronze.
Oh, sweet. Doc Savage.
Yes. So I'm not aware of Doc Savage in full background because it was before in the magazine format. It's been in the realm of that for a while. I guess that's where his popularity came from. Oh, hello, Mind Comment.
Hello, G.
How are you? And apparently this is the Marvel's way of kind of putting this in a comic format to see if they will get that popularity back or introduce the Doc Savage to the world. To my surprise, when I started reading it, there's lots of mention of Fortress of Solitude, Superman. Don't they like in my mind the first thing came into, do they not have like copyrights for that kind of those words to use in Marvel comic books, or that didn't work? And what year was this produced? 1972. I mean, this comic book I'm holding is older than me. So I'm not really sure. I wasn't in that era to understand exactly.
Oh, it's even older than me.
So I'm you guys aware of that? So Fortress Solid, I've always thought that you're not allowed to use those things because it's a copyright, like breach or something. But in this comic book in particular, they mentioned, they kind of described him. He even has a Fortress of Solitude where he goes, escapes from the world of whatever he really doesn't want it to be part. Anyway, so the creator teams are Roy Thomas as a plotter and editor, Steve Englehart as a scripter, Rose Andrew and Jim Mooney as an artist, and John Constanza as a letterer. And it starts straight away with the action: a man climbing a steel frame of the building to assassinate somebody. We don't know yet. There's also this a little chapter in here. We can't really explain to you in this panel or in this beginning of a story about these lovely human beings, but we'll explain to you in the page 31. So apparently Doc Savage has a group of people or guys or soldiers really who is part of his group or to help kind of be part of them. And this guy who's trying to assassinate is from Mayan descent, and he came with one task: to kill somebody. And there's this panels where the lift comes through, and they don't know who it is, but of course it is their buddy, and the way they introduce him, the Bronze Man. Every single time I mention the Bronze Man, I felt like, I'm sorry to say that, a man who just came from a tanning place, and here you go, humans being as a Bronze Man. I mean, overly tan. Not that his strength is all about, but just somehow in my mind it had that in while I was reading it. I don't know. It's just how my mind works sometimes. Anyway, it's quite a bit of read, but it's very entertaining. It wasn't like, it didn't get me lost for not knowing Doc Savage who it is, because they really clearly tried to explain that to you in the comic book, in this first issue in particularly. Okay, enjoy your dinner. So yeah, and they apparently he was in a hiding, and those groups of men or friends of his were waiting for him, not knowing who's going to come to be, because they haven't seen him in a while. So he appears, and they have this great sad thing to tell him, because while he was in hiding, his dad has passed away. And he came to collect whatever his inheritance is, and apparently had to go to this lovely clock, which apparently becomes a hidden safe beneath it. And they found basically a task to what they're going to be doing. A lot of entertainings, a lots of interesting points of a man shoots them, shoots at Doc Savage. You think he's gonna get him, but very cleverly, after a couple of explanations, they're saying that they created this glass where they don't see you on the right angle. From that perspective, from outside perspective, is kind of like off 5 centimeters away from it. So it's very entertaining in that sense. So I find it, yeah, very good. And all the work of art and the coloring is quite spot on. And I really enjoyed it. Maybe the way I was, sometimes explained to you in the laughing matter, but honestly, as a thing which I'm just discovering in this couple of issues, it's really so entertaining. What my feel of Doc Savage was after reading it, it feels like he is Superman / strongman / kind of Indiana Jones vibe to him. I have, so I'm not sure is it how he was in the original format written, but this is the way I had felt after reading this. Really beautiful cars, which is crazy difficult to draw. Crazy looking like a sniper. It looks like interesting take on the clothing. So in the story, if they got caught in them, he's extremely quick to climb anything. He's extremely strong. His group of people really good. Apparently, they also can bypass robots as well. Apparently they have whole freedom, nobody can capture them, even the police guy. Apparently there's somebody they know up high saying that they have freedom to do that because they fighting the crime. So that's where it was extremely entertaining. And this story continues in issue number 2, where they're actually going into, is it the place of, where did they go now? Where's this place where the Mayans, why do I blank all the time this information? Somewhere in Southern America. Okay. Anyway, so they try to arrive to a place by plane, but they got shot down. They get met by representatives of the country, and they all look so kind of like, those dodgy people, even though they're smiling, but they just look really dodgy. They're not up to they kind of good, like they pretend to, and they like, oh yeah, go there via Condillos kind of thing, they saying good luck with your trip, but then this kind, in the same way, it looks kind of like they trying to say something wrong about it. So we're trying to find that hidden Mayan place. They're flying through the plane. Somebody is getting really sick because of the turbulence, but they go through this pocket of space where they, in order to pass, and of course that's why it felt like Indiana Jones, but they discovered the hidden place of treasure. And all about the Mayans are, they have this gold coming through each directions, and they don't really care about it, but the white man is always wants to go and capture it, because why not, because there's a treasure. And Doc Savage appears in this place, and he's talking to the chief, and he's saying, oh, I know who you are. And he's like, I've never seen you before, but apparently his dad, Senior, Savage Senior, he's been in this place already. He's been spending some time with them, and he has made a plan for his son to take over in case of something happens to him. And that's what Doc Savage has basically done by coming into this land. But of course, there's always a foe behind it, and there's this foe of great lizard serpent, a man who is actually having some sort of promiscuous ideas of how to deal with the Doc Savage and how not to get to his own ways. It's extremely entertaining, beautiful art. In the second issue, actually, I'm just going to see Ross, Andrew, and Annie Chua artists. So the helping artist, his change, but honestly, it's like every page is really great, very well presented. I absolutely love this panel. I think the color schemes, the blacks and whites, and everything that doesn't really help with all the bubbles, but in generally the panel is fantastically executed. One of the famous ones for me. And of course, the Red Death, the guy behind the mask. Ah, there you go. I just spotted Hidalgo is the place where they went into. It's lots of action. There's lots of kind of cunning ways of dealing with situations by Doc Savage. There is that they trying to poison people. This is exactly how his dad has passed away because of this poison. But of course, Doc Savage isn't afraid of anything. He even speaks ancient Mayan. So it was even great for him in that sense. But he's extremely clever in scientist, strong man, trained 2 hours a day, become to what he is now, the bronze guy. And I would love to know why they call him the bronze guy, because that doesn't really explain. And like I said to you in the first issue, they have also on the first issue, they do also explain about the band of brothers and why they are part of this team. So yeah, really cool, entertaining little 2-issue series. Can I get hold of them cheaply? I don't think that's a bad reading experience you will get. I just really like the art. I think it's definitely
really nice.
Yeah, it's a winner for me. So and there's only 2 issues, so definitely the plan of them to introduce Doc Savage into comic realm didn't work, because that's what CLZ says, that I have 2 issues, but there's no more.
So Marvel didn't do any more after those?
It seems to be according to CLZ.
And then it went to other companies, I think, right? Then other companies did some Doc Savage stuff, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think there had been more, but I don't know. As I say, this round, maybe Damon would have said, but I don't know if he's around. He would probably know more about the Doc Savage, because I think I've seen him talking about it as well.
Pretty sure, yeah.
So yeah, it's really entertaining. I mean, the way it's kind of like it's a fun Marvel comic book, like with really good art. In my opinion, this is that era of the 70s Marvel. I think they had anybody who was doing the art spot on. The panels are like busy, never like blank spaces like in that era it always were. And the level of artists they were working for the Marvel, always up there for me, in my opinion.
Well, especially if you're getting guys like Ernie Chan coming into the picture, the Filipinos and stuff like that. That's pretty cool. I also love those picture frame covers of that era too. What is that? The 10th anniversary of Marvel or something, or the superhero?
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Those picture frame thing is for some people like it, some people don't. But I enjoyed it. As I say, I just but continue like from issue 1 to issue 2, even though they changed one of the helping artists, they still completely have the same feel to each other. And I think even better, like you say, with Ernie Chan in here, like more like there's no subtle changes in it whatsoever. You can't change, like the angles of the faces are correct, the perspective is really cool, and everything. It's and never you get like I don't know which way to read, because we know like sometimes you kind of get lost in the panels, which sometimes it happened, but not this one. It's really clear to read, and it's, as I say, kind of like strong man / Indiana Jones story, because of the Mayans and they gold, and they open this, they go into the cave to show Doc Savage how much they have, and he's like, what? So there's a lot of
this documentary I saw recently, Comic Tropes or whatever that guy's channel is, he talks about that. And then when he came to the States, he got it changed.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's when you said Chan, I know exactly that, but then he says Chua in here.
Yeah.
So there you go. And now you know exactly why.
I'll send you the link to that little video. It's great. Just the little history on. He does a good job of kind of making a lot of this history very concise in a pretty easy to understand way. But just talking about a bunch of I think that's the channel's name, Comic Tropes. I think that's what it's called. I'm second guessing myself. Is that what it is?
I know YouTube channel called Comic Tropes, so maybe you're right on that level. Oh. Yeah,
that's his name. Yeah, Comic Tropes, all one word.
Yeah.
But he had a good one. He had a good one on the Filipino invasion or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
I have. I'll send it to you.
Cool. Definitely I'm gonna be interested. But as I say, I absolutely love that. Especially, like never seen those. As I say, like cheap and on the cheaper bins, I've never did. Especially
Mhm.
Comic Mart and such. That like 20-cent comic books isn't easy anymore to buy for cheap. So when I found I was like, oh yeah, of course I'm gonna get it. I don't know anything about you. Like I have bare idea about you, but I'm gonna discover it. But honestly, love the art and
Yeah.
love those little stories. There's nothing complicated about them, but extremely
Yeah.
entertaining. Is what comic books sometimes you need them to be.
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, that's part of the charm of that.
Mm-hmm.
Having these short little stories. Nice to get a nice contained
Mm-hmm.
one-off, right? So
Yeah, exactly. Okay,
yeah.
your turn.
I didn't. All I read was this. I don't have anything to say about it other than it's really good. I love Stick
Uh-huh.
Boy.
Uh-huh.
This was another one that came from Nate.
Show us
It's
the
great.
panels for a bit.
It's very
Just
basic.
a
It's
reminder.
more about his storytelling.
Oh, I see.
This one is color as well too, which was a
Oh,
surprise. So
I
Dennis
love that.
Warden, yeah, he's kind of legendary for me anyway. So
Hmm.
yeah, he does some
Ooh,
very
look at
kind
that.
of basic characters, but there's
Mm-hmm.
some interesting storylines going on in here, dealing with kind of just people dealing with their shit. You know what I mean? Is basically
Yeah.
what it is. Dealing with your stuff that you don't like, your insecurities. Insecurities is the word I'm looking for.
Mm-hmm.
So they're always fun little stories. They're pretty funny. This one had a little bit more of a serious tone, and it feels like in this era as well too, these guys had they were following the news on a lot of things, so they used it also as kind of like a zine to get across a bunch of their ideas. It's just unfortunate that it gets presented like this because it's impossible to read.
Mm-hmm.
This just I
Oh,
couldn't even dive into it. Even if I
wow.
wanted to, I just couldn't actually read it. Even with my glasses on and really good lighting, I just couldn't read what was going on here. But yeah, these are fun. Stick Boy is fun, well worth checking out. So this is Revolutionary Comics. Then he
Mhm.
went on to Starhead Comics, and then
Wow.
he went on Fantagraphics, put out some of the stuff. Fantagraphics did it in magazine size, but I think the Revolutionary Comics stuff was first. Must have
Uh-huh.
been that's number 6, and this is number what? Number 2 or something? Number 4.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, they're fun books.
Yeah.
Still not finished. They're hard to find, the single issues. The magazines are a little more difficult. Yeah, totally. Becomes more of a missive. The more legible, the better. Becomes more of like a letter from a guy in a shack in his backyard for sure. Yeah, so fun. That's it.
Okay. Okay. So
Yeah,
you haven't read any more,
I got
right?
nothing else. Yeah, no, I didn't read anything else. I read a
Uh-huh.
couple of things last night. That's why I have so much to talk about. Because before yesterday, I think I read 2 books. Or
Yeah.
maybe even just 1 book actually. Now, if I'm really thinking about it, so yeah.
Yeah, I read a couple, but then I went on I had a time for my own, so I was like, oh yeah, let's do
Mhm.
it, let's do it. Because those Marvel books are really entertaining. And let's say those 2 issues, even though that's so many speech bubbles, because the action was great and
Yeah.
entertaining and new, like something I'm discovering, it was really good to read. But another thing,
And
the
it's got a
last,
different flow to it as well too, with that kind of speech bubbles. You
yeah,
can read them a lot quicker because you get the general gist. It's
hmm
not like they're tackling complex issues or anything. So you can kind of, even when I was reading the DC stuff, like I
yeah,
read those 4 books in
yeah,
probably the span of, like, I don't know, 15 minutes. That's not a criticism. It's just that they end
yeah,
up flowing at a different pace. You can kind of
yeah,
skim through them a lot faster and still get
yeah.
a good reading experience.
So I don't know if you've read this one. I kind of think you have. But my last book for this week, which I read, is talking about Dead Man.
Yeah,
It's
sweet.
in the same stack. So DC
Yes.
Superstar presents number 18, Dead Man and Phantom Stranger, and it's a chunky feel to the book. It's about more than 34 pages of comic, which quite, like in that bigger format. And it says at the beginning, Dead Man's Phantom Stranger, but at the beginning, what they do to the series, it kind of introduces Phantom Stranger or the scene or of where everything going to happen, and it's divided in 3 sections or 3 chapters as they call them in here. So the first one we see in here, Halloween comes into it, and the unfortunate place called, oh my goodness, Rasa, did you know again the name of the town? Roughland? Oh no. Wait. Yeah, Rutland in Vermont. So beautiful scenes.
Yeah, really nice.
Sets the mood really nicely. So Halloween, Phantom Stranger appears. There's just this charming eggs, and then you have 2 kids playing with the leaves, and then something captures one of the kids, and this scene of terror, which is really a kind of good thing to show off, especially when it comes to Halloween. And the story we got introduced by in this next page is gargoyles is the culprits of the storyline. So Deadman is coming to this place. Oh, I need to show you Terence, how the panels reading doesn't get you confused in the era or when this came out. Wait, give me a second. In 1977. So when they don't know how to create the panels properly, they arrow it down for you. So it tells you which way to go first. So that you're definitely not going to get confused by. I don't know what happened to that editors when they put that comic book together. But honestly, you could have just played the panels like, in the row this way, like we do in our comic books, but something happened anyway. So because of the capture, the family gets really petrified, doesn't know what's happening in this town. They're calling police, they're calling the child completely crazy, because don't talk crazy because you're gonna get spanking, basically what dad is saying, in a generalized sense. And you see this figure, and of course if you have if you know that man at all, or if you read that man, you will see this kind of sparkly surrounding about the person, so you know that that man is inside the person. So that's Deadman, how Deadman arrives to the little town of Rutland in Vermont. He takes the hobo or person who lives in the streets and takes him to the bus and arrives to the place, and then dumps him right at the streets.
Dumps his body,
like proper dumps it. He doesn't have any, any shame. Any shame that man doesn't have in that sense.
Yeah, that's right. Just uses people.
Yeah, and then you have this scene where he leaves the body, which is absolutely fantastic. And then he says, "What is this hour of demon? What is this nonsense happening?" Because he sees all the superheroes in the streets, and apparently because of the Halloween, everybody's dressing up in superheroes, and he is like, "Oh my God, what is happening in this world?" And because of what the gargoyles are trying to do and summon, the time of additional hours being created because of the summoning. They want to get somebody out, and time goes still for 1 hour. And in that time, Deadman gets a bit distracted and is becoming a bit more of a superhero, and he's trying to save the kids, because on the roof where they are looking at the parade, which doesn't look like this in the right scene because the house looks quite far away from the streets in the forest. But anyway, they're still looking around to the parade with the binoculars, and the balcony is about to give in without kids realizing, and Deadman try to help them. To Deadman's surprise, he is not really a ghost because of that hour or extra hour between 12 o'clock and onwards, and he manages to save him, but he also can teleport into the person, a mum, as he says, "I'm sorry," and he's like, "Oh, sorry, mum, but you're gonna have to, otherwise you're gonna be stomped to death, or I'm gonna have to leap into his action as he always does."
You're gonna have to learn gymnastics.
Yeah, that's yeah, exactly.
Kabash.
So yeah. So then he discovers the cave where the gargoyles are. He goes into it, finds out what's happening, kind of, or he predicts what is going to happen there. Then he gets attacked by them, and because of his slash ghost slash non ghost, he finds it quite greatly difficult to defeat them. So he basically tries to look once again for a body to help, and he decides to get into a person who's has this face, very much of Neil Adams' face to me, if you can see that
So
one.
much, yeah. Even
Yeah.
Dead Man, like I've got the issues. I'm following along as you're going.
Oh,
Even
okay.
even Dead Man himself, like it's
Yeah.
very Neil Adams.
But isn't I can't find the people's creative team. But that's what
It's Dick Giordano doing
there you
inking,
go.
I think.
Yeah.
Where was the? I did see the credits. I was reading
Yeah.
them. Art
I don't know.
Romeo Tangahal and Dick
Yeah.
Giordano.
Yes, there you go. Yeah. Yeah. Mark Pasco is the script writer, and Tatiana Wood is a colorist, which is she done a really good job, by the way. So anyway,
It's beautiful. It's fucking beautiful.
Yeah, he goes into this man's body. He isn't struggling, so he thought maybe it doesn't have a choice. He has to go into his wrist. What he didn't realize that he went into the body of dying man, and he doesn't know what will happen to him, or he can escape, or he thinks he can escape, but he kind of gets stuck, and he basically stumbles. Which is the first time I've seen that man in that kind of situation. For a while, like in the comic books, and which is really great to see. But then with the cunning ways of Deadman, he manages to basically escape because of the entity which they want to come into life. They need a sacrifice. That's why they capture the girl, but he takes the dead man instead, and he's like, "Oh no, I can't do this. I need something living. The cabal cannot be feeding on dead." No, and he disappears, and that's how they think that the story ends, kind of thing, with dead man saying, "Oh, I saved the day." Gargoyles got kind of washed away or exploded, which that fantastic scene here. And then he goes to the tree and talks to the lady, which is interesting as well, because she doesn't usually come that much, but in the story she did. Rama Kushna is the entity which actually made Deadman who he is.
Yeah.
So
that one panel there where it's the side shot of the tree and just her face in the black there is really, really nicely done.
Yeah, exactly. And then also you have a story of the Phantom Stranger, the Wrath in the Rain, and you think, okay, so what's happening here? But no, everything's continuously in that Vermont Ratland. Unfortunately to them, the night continues, action happens, but we're concentrating on Phantom Stranger. And Phantom Stranger came to the town to warn this couple. And the guy's surname is 13, and he's the guy who likes to
13,
he likes to be like capturing that, like Phantom Stranger or people like him as a kind of liars. Nothing can be like this, what you're saying, everything is just an illusion or a magical trick and something. So yeah, it's and then he gets stopped in his ways by this entity who we find in the future, spoiler alerts, that actually is the culprit behind all of it. And then this panel comes into fruition. So apparently, this is all the creators of this comic book in the panel. If I understood it properly after reading it, because they describe it.
You're right. You're right.
The Foolish Jerry, which is
Jerry Conway.
Yeah, exactly. Then you have a Marty, the artist, I presume, and then Paul and Romeo. And then Len and Denny and Roy never showed up. And that's Len, Wayne, and Roy, because they are from original creators of isn't it, of House of Mystery? That's where the Phantom Stranger is, or I'm going, but something like that. Anyway, so so they come to work on this little story of a Phantom Stranger where they see this lightning going onto the building, and because how the lightning can strike the building and nothing happens, so we decide to go investigate. When they go inside to investigate, they get charmed away by this. This is the scene when they see the house. It goes inside the house, and
oh man, it's beautiful. It's really nice.
Yeah, and they get charmed by this old man who is basically asked them to sit down and have a glass of wine, and then they kind of get tranced by him because of this beautiful mellow voice, and they couldn't. And because of that 13 guy, the Phantom Strangers keep on trying to say to him, "Look at the mirror," and he sees this painting, and the mirror, I think it's the mirror, isn't it? And he says, "Look at it, and you see the true colors of actually what's happening in the building you are in."
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful. I mean, the story is great. I mean, I'm telling you almost kind of like, but it's extremely entertaining little story, and it's quite hefty read for, as I say, 34 pages of the comic book. And if you guys
But
can get
again,
hold of
it reads smoothly. It reads
yeah.
nicely.
And then after everything what happened in the house, we have actual Phantom Strange and Deadman story together to defeat the real enemy behind this all. And I really like the interactions together, because it seems to be in here and this story in particularly, they just kind of like not, they know they both existing, but they have never worked together before this kind of thing, and the vibe. So really well done. Absolutely fantastic little tale. Art is spot on as always, but I think the art did the artist changed in the first issue? Because in the second chapter they kind of they were introducing but I don't think they did, because there's no credits. And there's lots of things happens, the stories on the Phantom Stranger in this one particularly. So I would definitely like to go read more. I think you have more Phantom Stranger on than I do.
I sure do, and it's got me wanting to pick up some more now. They reference this one here too, Phantom Stranger number 41, which has Dead Man in it as well too.
Yeah.
So that one there from the main series that he talks about in that last chapter.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, really good, entertaining, and as always, those two together as a team are great. Sorry.
No, that's okay.
Yeah, good one. And the advertisement for one thing I never was able to get hold of is this. It's one of the Neil Adams things of Muhammad Ali and Superman.
Right.
Which is advertising here. 72 spectacular, all new page, supersized knockout by Neil Adams and Dick Giordano. Which I've seen
just
people
to show the ones that because they caught my eye too. I think AFPC was talking about it. Those two there are great, but this one here in the corner, that rain, it's so good, man. Like it's so good, really, really great stuff.
Yeah.
What an issue. Yeah, nice score, Rasa.
Well, yeah, I was like, so as I say, I've seen this one. You know, Dead Man is always going to be something I'm going to pick it up, and that spread is beautiful, isn't it? The colors is the best choice of that. It just sets the mood so well. You know, this splash pages call them.
Yeah,
and I love purple and black. Is always a winner for me, especially in this. And there's a story that in here which I did not read, but they're saying that why they created this Phantom Stranger in here, which I will need to read fully through, but they explain to you why they're doing that, and it's apparently something they were working on for quite some time until they got this issue coming out.
Yeah,
they would work together. So really cool.
Yeah, he really is a kind of like horror host early on, until he kind of gets until they kind of figure out his character.
Yeah. So
here's this other one. So this is from the issue that they referenced, the last issue, but this is killer. Paul Levitt's writing, Fred Carrillo, the artist, and it has that kind of classic DC horror type of look to it, you know, with the characters and stuff.
Oh, look at
that. A little bit more scratchy, and let's see if we can find a page with Dead Man and Phantom Stranger. Yeah, here you go. Here's some Dead Man and Phantom Stranger interacting as they're trying to fight there, or Dead Man's trying to get his hands on him.
Oh wow!
Yeah, it's great stuff.
Yeah,
very cool. Yeah, I mean, it's got me wanting to get more of these Phantom Stranger because I was finding a bunch of them for a while, and I sort of just moved off of getting them.
I remember, this
shit.
Flash race.
Jesse Owens versus Flat. Oh. Was that an actual thing they were going to do, or is that AFPC making a joke?
Yeah, probably, maybe he does.
Yeah,
because I remember seeing those covers of those Flash races, and I always wanted to have a couple of issues, but they all Neil Adams covers, and they're always very pricey, of course, because it's Neil Adams. So
this is the earliest Stranger I've got, but again, like to really put him in there.
That.
Like, look how that is such classic DC horror type of cover. It's just gorgeous shit, man. Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, honestly, any issues that you can get your hands on, even the corner box there with the
yeah.
Phantom Stranger summoning you, like it's beautiful,
It's very
beautiful
House
stuff.
of Mystery stuff, isn't it? Or
Absolutely,
secret.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And they reference that somewhere in this comic book about House of Mystery because of the something happened in there. But one of my, which I didn't show you, but this is the best, probably freakiest panels of this comic book. Should give me a second. Is this one? It's when that homeless man,
Uh-huh.
that man who has, and this is what the police guy was looking at when he he basically passed him through the guise of there's no life in them because this is
A
that man's
wank.
eyes because it's taken over the body. Really cool, really
Awesome.
good work. So it's oh, sorry, it's you again. But yeah, so it's Bob Layton who helped Romeo in here, Tangal,
hmm
in this second chapter of Phantom Stranger. It did feel a little bit different, but still the same kind of thing. But fantastic, isn't it? This is one of the good stuff as well. It gives you like really good feel for the Phantom Stranger, but definitely Dead Man took over for sure for this comic book. So
hmm
it's, if you are a Dead Man fan, but yeah.
And also a good way to get into Phantom Stranger, you know, like some of those kind of team
No.
up books. They're always a good way to start
Mhm.
getting into one of the other characters, right? So
Yeah. Anyway,
yeah, it
so
makes me want to find some more now. Thanks,
me too.
Rasta.
Oh yeah, well, thanks to this comic
Yeah,
that
right.
I went to went that as well, because I remember you showing it. That's the thing. That's why I
hmm
picked this up, because I definitely didn't have that. And you sent me a Phantom Stranger comic book as well. I remember a couple of them. I have somewhere
Right.
put it away.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, so it's really does makes you go, because, and also that extra information how they want that fantasy realm to be more into DC superstars things, and she's talking about, we're talking about Janet Cannon as a publisher and Joe Orlando as a managing editor. The idea of Masters of Mystery theme was suggested and turned down. You see, that's the introduction. So
hmm
I mean, it's never been. I mean, if you like that realm, you're definitely going to be a fan, and you're going to start to get like House of Mystery stuff. I always, because of the Bernie's work, most of the time was
Yeah.
what was drawing me first into it. But honestly, reading this, I want even more. And I remember when they released the omnibus, I always wanted to get hold of it. But then, of course, you don't do it, and then it passes by, and then it's kind of like pricey to get hold of now, so they don't
Yeah.
really reprint that. And DC is never really good at omnibus prints, because sometimes they have a bad printing ways and stuff like that. Which is Dead Man
hmm
was the best out of them all so far, apparently. The
But
printing
honestly,
wise.
these ones work so well in single issue. Like getting them,
Oof.
the more beaten up, the better. And, you know, like the
Yes.
texture and yeah.
The most, yeah, exactly. And the
Yeah, it's
colors is
beautiful.
fantastic. So there you go,
Yeah.
people. We managed to read more than we were thinking we're gonna. We're gonna have half an hour. Terrence was telling me we're gonna have half an hour chat. We end up having
I mean, it sure
2 hour chat.
seemed like it because at that point, it's like I had one comic that I'd read, you know,
Yeah.
so it's like, oh man, we
I
can
just
chat, but I don't know what the hell we're going to talk about.
I had that reprieve of having myself time for myself. So then when I read, and this kind of books really draws me into more reading. I'd read this, I get really excited by. I read Doc Savage, I got really excited, and then like I just want to read more of that kind of stuff. And I really like 70s comics in general.
So the other thing that kind of popped up for me the other
Yeah.
day, I guess Friday night, I watch every once in a while. I don't watch them religiously. Yeah, half hour likely story. Hey, Andrew Lopez. Yeah. I was watching. I sometimes watch this show, The Low Grades, is what they name their show. It's on Friday night. I tuned in this past Friday, and they were talking about. I guess there's this whole big kerfuffle with a Spawn book that apparently was limited to 50 copies back in 2019 because it was going to be part of like some gaming thing, Mortal Kombat maybe. So it was like this Mortal Kombat variant that was limited to 50 copies that people went nuts for. I guess someone at the time sold one 9.8 for $5,000. Well, recently it's come out that there wasn't 50 copies because all of a sudden a box of 100 was found. A box of 200 was found. A box of 200 was found, and now there's like 500 copies, which is still a limited run. Don't get me wrong, but it's a lot different than 50 copies. It was an
Mhm.
interesting little story about, you know, like again that, and these guys, listening to these guys talk about it, was I could see where they were talking about all sorts of things, because apparently the comics dealers who had these boxes, who knew that it wasn't 50 copies, weren't telling people, and they were selling a couple here, a couple there, a couple there. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh.
and how some people got burnt by it, and it's like, well, I mean, that's kind of what happens when you play those kind of fucking games, though. When you're buying a comic just because it's limited,
Yeah.
I mean, you're taking a chance. The thing that surprised me the most about their story was that at the time they were talking about, I haven't looked into it myself, but
Uh-huh.
I was asking them, like, has an Image said anything about it? Haven't they talked about, you know, the fact that, hey, there wasn't 50 copies, but it turns out maybe they told the people to destroy the copies that they had, and possibly the people didn't destroy the copies, so they kind of took a couple of boxes home and, you know, had all these things. So it was an interesting conversation, but it was a good reminder of like what that side of the YouTube comics world is, where it's about getting these limited editions and getting them in the plastic and stuff. That's like, dude, you got fucked. I'm sorry, that sucks. But it also is kind of a thing of like, you know, people taking advantage of again, working class people, right, who can't really
Mhm.
afford stuff. There's an argument to be made that, you know, maybe they shouldn't be spending that kind of money on a book, period, if they actually don't have enough money. But I guess if you see it as an investment, you do it, or whatever. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's quite a little bit of fuckery. Sounds like it's the same kind of fuckery that always happens, and, you know, that kind of brought things down in the 90s, you know, these variant covers. And
Mm.
because one of the guys a big Spawn fan, and McFarlane, I guess, on one of the covers for some Spawn book, I guess all right out of the gate, there was covers where Spawn was holding an axe and covers where Spawn was holding a sword. And he's like, as soon as I saw that, I knew, don't even bother, because there's going to be all sorts of fuckery. Because then all of a sudden there was a cover, the same cover, but it was a different color. And then there was
I
another
know.
color variant. And it's like, dude, why are you trying to destroy comics again? Why are you actively trying to do that shit again? I think that's
Mm.
the piece that kind of puzzled me the most of, don't you remember what you did? Don't you remember what happened the last time you fucked around with things like this? So it's kind of a bummer that that kind of stuff happens to that degree, though. There's all the
But
variant covers and stuff, but that's another degree of like, holy shit, man, you're gonna
but
ruin things for people.
one thing you can say about McFarlane, but it only I think isn't it true that Spawn is the only comic book of new market? It's still $2.99.
Apparently so. That's why Jared Osborne buys it. It's the
Uh,
cheapest book out there. Yeah, and
yeah.
Jared says that he buys it just because it's that price. You know, he's not even a big Spawn fan. He wants to support that price point, you know. So yeah, I mean, good for him for doing that stuff. But I guess you can afford to if you're doing 97 variant covers and 50 copies to kind of put out there, right? Like, they're cashing in so many other ways that, you know, it's nice that you've got a cheap book for people to buy into. But if you
Mhm.
single-handedly destroy the fucking industry again,
Mm.
you know, what does that say about your $2.99 book? So
He has this Gunslinger Spawn comic book. Apparently, everybody is really enjoying it. I don't.
mm,
I have Spawn issues because I got inherited by somebody
oh, yeah,
who decided to part ways with them, and I have all those which have Spider-Man homage covers, which is quite it's not easy to get hold of, let's say this way, but I have that
yeah,
in my collection. But honestly, it's like I've read a couple of the Spawn. I tried to get into the Spawn ones, but honestly, in single format to get hold of Spawn, like first, let's say maybe 50 issues, is quite difficult because they weren't
yeah,
as printed easily, readily. Like number one was absolutely out there. I
yeah,
mean,
like a
you
million of
can
them. Yeah,
just,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, exactly. But then the later ones, because they're kind of weaning down popularity, you just didn't print as much, so you're quite difficult. So when
Hmm.
they reprinted it, everybody got excited about it. But I just, this kind of world where comic books isn't read just because you get it, but you get excited about it. I don't know if yourself, but I know I myself, I went to that kind of, there was a period when I was going to comic marts. There was a period of time I was just hunting for those key issues somehow, and I went to that kind of like excitement realm, like, oh my god, treasure, 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 treasure in the books.
Hmm.
But then you realize, and it's like, there's, thankfully I had this wake up call saying like, well, you enjoy, are you enjoying the comic books you just like treasure, treasure, treasure about?
That's right.
And then
Yeah,
I
right.
decided to read those first things I get hold of it. And then I remember the most money I spent on a comic book for the first appearance of One Thing. And that's the most money. So it was £160, which I was like thinking, oh my God, what the hell am I doing? But
Yeah.
honestly, to this day, I have that comic book and I'm treasuring it to the point of no
Yep.
return because I care about it quite a lot.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's just
Yeah, and I mean that's a
love
good one
Bernie,
to have too.
Swamp Thing, la 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 la.
Yeah.
I love anything, whatever Swamp Thing Bernie has done, and that is
Mhm.
just like pedestal of the whole thing of the whole run. So in
Yeah.
that sense, I was like, okay, whatever. I spend that kind of like a lot of money, but I feel good about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not
I mean, it's the
hiding it.
same thing
I
with me for
felt
that Doctor
crazy.
Strange 169 and that
Yeah.
early Strange Tales. Like
Yeah.
those are a
Yeah.
prized possession just because, and I've read them multiple times, right?
Yeah.
Like, and it's so great to have because I love the books themselves, you know.
Honestly, I'm very careful with this. Like the Doctor Strange 169 I have as well, and I am that's one first appearance. I'm quite careful as well to when I read it through. I don't tend to do this kind of thing like
Yeah,
I'm
of
doing
course.
now to this.
Yeah.
But you know,
Lay
just
it out on
because.
the table. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But I just I still read it. I don't slab it, and I don't want slabbing it. I
No.
have one slab comic book which is still there, but it's new one. It's the Preacher's #1, so it's okay.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
So it's kind of newish, like the Preacher wherever it came out. So that's the
Yeah,
only
yeah,
slab
yeah.
I have. Even
Yeah.
the first appearance of Venom, I bought it slabbed. Guess what I did? I bloody cracked it.
Cracked it. Yeah, it's amazing.
And if I would have kept it in that original CGG, I probably would have more value to it. But it wasn't the point. I really wanted to see inside how first Venom appeared. And
Yeah,
now
totally.
seeing its reprint going for the Marvel selling it for $6.99, really, for reprint for that much money? You probably call it reprinted like 5 times, like maybe 10 years ago of the same
Right.
issue, and you would probably find them in the bin, you know. But
Yeah.
hey, this is
I
how they
mean,
make
yeah,
money.
and that stuff happens because I guess the one thing that surprised me, that Raphael Grandpa book that's coming out, that Batman Gargoyles of Gotham, I guess there was shops that were sent. They call it an ash can edition, but from what I've seen, it's the same size as a comic. But I think it was limited to one per shop or something. Because I saw one of my shops in town had it, and it was already $60. It's like, but I can get the book when it comes out next. I think it comes out next month, middle of next month. I can get the book but it makes me worry though. That's like, fuck, is this going to be one of those books that I've got to go on the day to get the $4.99 copy because within 5 minutes it's going to skyrocket? I put it on a pull list, so I'm hoping that they honor that and hold on to it for me if it does start to jump up in price. But it's one of those of like, God damn it, I just want to read the book. I don't want to now have to get stressed out about like I got to get a copy before it shoots through the roof because then I won't have any interest because I love him as an artist and I'm really, really curious to see what it's going to look like and what it's going to be since it's him writing as well too. So
are you following him on Instagram? Because you can see some of the
I sure as hell
snippets.
am, yeah. And he's already talking about the next issue and stuff. And he did some fucking video where it's like this lab and there's people. It's like, Jesus Christ, what the fuck is this? And that kind of stuff just makes me more nervous. That's like, oh my God, I got to go on the day to get this book because I feel like I'm going to not be able to get my hands on it, you know, and I really just want to read the damn thing. You know, I really want to see it and read it. So it's going to be one of those that people are going to go batshit crazy about, I think. No pun intended.
Anyway, well, we'll see. I mean, I've seen it. I really like his art, and
He's great.
I enjoy it. So I don't know if I want to get hold of it because like everybody's going crazy about it. But when you miss the boat, you miss the boat.
Yeah.
I
it's
keep
true,
on saying,
but I don't want to
like,
because I want to appreciate his art, you know, for $4.99 or $5.99, not for $15.99 or $20.99 or whatever the hell it's going to jump up to, right? So
did you not?
But I guess
sorry, go.
I guess my other thing is I guess I don't know what an ash can is because I thought ash can was a smaller format.
Yeah,
they used to be in like Wizard magazine, but this one, it looked full size in the photos that I saw. So I guess I don't really understand what that means anymore.
I have one ash can by Winsor Smith. It's a yellow little book. I don't remember where it is. I don't know, but I put it somewhere safe.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's about, so this is a comic. It was like this like tiny book
Right.
size.
Right.
So it's really small. So
Like
that's
a
why
sample.
I think that's what it is. I'm not, now I'm doubting myself while I'm saying it, because I'm,
Yeah.
you know, like when you say something out and you're like, was it true or not? But I think that's what it was, because it
That's what I always
specifically
thought too.
it's saying something like this like just came out in the conventions, and usually have that kind of thing. And I remember have that one of them.
Mhm.
But if you say it's going to be a comic format, so why they call it an
Why would I
Ashcan?
want a smaller version of it for $60 when I can wait a few more weeks and then I can get the actual comic? Are meant to establish trademarks, nothing more. Can have color or be any size. Oh, okay. I see. So
Okay.
just tend to be
There
more
you go.
raw versions of the final product. Yeah.
Which just makes sense.
And
Kind of.
yeah, that was the other thing I picked up this week when I went to get my pull list. I'll show you this before we go. I haven't read
Okay.
it yet, but they did a pen and ink version of issue 1 of Many Deaths of Layla Starr. So I picked this up. I haven't read it yet, but such a good idea, man. I loved this series. I thought it was really great. This one, it ended up costing $6.99 US, but he does there's an introduction by Ram V, and then he does every page, shows you every page, and then has some notes at the bottom too. So I'm really looking forward. Yeah, I think this is going to be a really fun little read, because this was one of my highlights for that year, whenever it came out last year, I think maybe. So
it's so nice to get into the mind of the creator, because then you know why he was thinking of specific panels. It's the same thing you were getting. Yeah, really good. I've read snippets of the story, but never finished it. I wonder if I can get hold of it. Maybe my library would have it.
It's damn good. It was a really, really good little series.
It's the same as you were getting me this, sending me this.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, and
The
he
Tundra
sketched.
stuff.
Yeah, and his sketchbook is explained everything, and I absolutely devoured all the explanations, because it just made the arts much more kind of like intently kind of like why he was doing all this, you know, like, and he was just talking about the man in the penthouse when he was working for him specifically, and this is the guy who has been, his father was actual painter, but he's becoming an art collector and stuff like that, and he was working for him, and he went into this room with all this great art, and he was specifically instructed how to do stuff, and he got distracted by the paintings around him, and he was like just doing the sketchbook just to kind of clear his mind out. So it was fantastic little explanation, because you don't get that, you know, from sketchbooks sometimes.
Yeah, right.
They don't explain that to you.
Yeah, no, totally. Yeah, and the other ones from that series, they all look pretty good. Even the artists that I don't know their names, it looks like that would be a real fun one to collect. Not easy to collect those ones.
No,
because they're not
easily
to get your hands on. But yeah.
Yeah, I looked, and this one was available to buy in UK. And then there's another one, but as I say, I can't remember the artist because I'm not familiar with him either. Who's that?
I also picked up a new Godzilla series, and it was purely because of this cover art, War for Humanity. It doesn't. Oh, there's the creators, Andrew McLean and Jake Smith. But I was pleasantly surprised that it looks the same on the inside as well too. I was worried there was just a variant cover that wouldn't be the art on the inside, but it looks exactly the same. I haven't read it yet, but it looks so much fun. Looks really, really great.
Cool.
Candy and toy commercial all mixed in one. So I'm looking forward to digging into that one. And again, that's the beauty of going to this galaxy. Like they carry a ton of books, so it's easy to get sidetracked and see stuff. But there was a bunch of new books on the shelf that looked amazing, but I can't afford any of them. But this one I couldn't say no to. I couldn't say no to that one, because that's I love Godzilla, and that looked fun. But yeah, there's some amazing stuff out there, man. Some really good looking books. None of the titles I remember, because I didn't take photos of them or anything, but just a lot of really good indie books out there lately with some beautiful looking art. And
that's cool.
Yeah, it's impressive. It's really impressive.
I keep on complaining there's no comic book store around me, but I'm actually quite glad, because any single time I go into, I just cannot leave like without having something. I always go to the bin, of course, first thing.
Yep.
But then, yeah, I'm actually quite glad because my pocket is like, yeah, thank God. You know,
Yeah,
we
right.
don't have to spend an extra cash, or you have to
Yeah,
start
yeah,
think,
yeah.
what are you gonna do to make that for the comic kind of thing? Because
Yeah.
like, it becomes like, if you're not planning, if you can, of course, afford it, you probably would go wild, which I would do. I saw this.
Mhm.
Now I'm going on a tangent, but I saw this ginormous turtle statue, and somehow I got like completely mesmerized by it. It's like, oh, I want some of that. Like, where would I put it? It was
Yeah.
it was the same size as those difficult books, like
Oh,
ginormous,
yeah.
like absolutely you
Wow.
can't even fit my hands into. It was just like
Uh-huh.
this dude, like turtle thing, and I was
Yep.
like, why I am so mesmerized? But it's because of the turtle. It's like that. I don't know. It's just neat as a thing, you know. Like, and all those action figures of the turtles. There's this new Santa Luco art specifically. Turtle's gonna come out. It's like I don't remember the name of the production of the action figures, and they look fantastic. And I want all of them, but they were like, why? It's like about what, £35 per action figure. It's like, nah. It's like
Yeah.
two omnibuses
Yeah.
price for
Yeah,
for
right.
four turtles if you want the whole pack of them.
Shoo. Yeah.
Because
Which of
you know,
course you
because
would, you know what I mean, unless you have a favorite turtle, but you kind of want the team, right? So yeah, some of those, the Galaxy has a bunch of figures as well too, and they have some Ninja Turtle stuff, and they all look incredible. There's this new thing going on with some toy lines where they're doing this black line, like the edging black
yes,
line on stuff.
Usagi
It makes it
Ojimbo.
look phenomenal. It looks so good.
Have you seen the
But yeah, I
Usagi
mean, they're all
Ojimbo?
so expensive.
Usagi Ojimbo, I have one, the black and white, because there's new
Yeah.
series of the space one coming out in Dark Horse in
Yes.
several months. So now there's an action figure came out, and it's like £75. I was like, whoa,
That
really?
Usagi black and white one looks fucking gorgeous. I saw that. Yeah, I think if we were talking about it in Twitter, it looks gorgeous. Yeah.
Anyway, okay, people, thank you very much for turning up.
Okay.
We start talking about stuff like, you know, action figures, and that's what we like. Like comic books as well. Anyway, thank you very much for sticking us around. Rick Ray, Architectural Foam Panels, or AFPC is easier. Andrew Lopez, Sleepy Reader, Mind the Comics, Chaos and Comics. There you go, people. Thank you very much. Samurai, yeah, that's came through as well. Vidal was there way before the show started.
Yep.
So it's nice to see him there. So thank you very much for sticking, and hopefully we'll end up going for you next Sunday.
Should be.
Anyways, bye.
See you later.